Chapter 3302. Facing Lin Xue's questioning. Meng Yu still insisted on acting. He looked at Lin Xue with a look of surprise and asked incredulously, "Younger sister Xue, what do you mean by this? This foolish brother is really thinking for your sake, and absolutely doesn't have any malicious intent. How can you slander me like this? Is this still that lively, adorable, pure, and kind younger sister Xue back then? What in the world did you experience in these 1,000 years? Why did you become like this? You even have to suspect your most trusted big brother, you? If Uncle Lin's spirit is in heaven and sees you slandering me like this, I don't know how sad he would be." Meng Yu's acting was exquisite and virtually had no flaws. Lin Xue's thoughts and willpower were somewhat shaken as she secretly thought in her heart, "Did I overreact and make a big fuss over nothing?" Seeing Meng Yu so aggrieved, could it be that I really wronged him? Just as these thoughts flashed across her mind, in the sky not far away, another large stretch of 5-colored divine light flew over. Swoosh! Swoosh swoosh! A total of 6 patches of 5-colored divine light arrived close in front of them as swift as lightning, scattering in all directions, surrounding Lin Xue. After each streak of divine light dissipated, 50 armored sword-wielding guards appeared. A total of 6 teams adding up to 300 guards. Among them, there were 12 guard captains whose strength reached 2nd-level Divine Lord realm. Without needing Meng Yu to instruct, these 300 guards all drew their sabers, swords, and battle halberds, aiming at Lin Xue uniformly, adopting a vigilant and battle stance. Now that it came to this, it could be said that the truth was out. If Lin Xue still harbored hope in her heart, then she would really be foolish to the max immediately. The atmosphere in the scene froze. Lin Xue withdrew her icy gaze and looked at Meng Yu once more, the corners of her mouth curling into a contemptuous sneer bit by bit. Hoo, to think that I still harbored that last trace of hope in you. Wondering if I wronged you or not. I didn't expect that I was too foolish and too naive to actually believe you, this beast in human form. Meng Yu, what else do you have to say now that things have come to this? Meng Yu froze for a bit but did not feel embarrassed in the slightest. He glared at those guards with furious eyes and ordered, "What are you all doing? This seat had you all rush over to provide support at top speed is to let you all protect Miss Lin. Quickly put away your sabers and swords. Don't act like you're ready to fight. If you scare Miss Lin, I won't forgive you." After saying that, he explained to Xue Lin, "Sister Xue, you really misunderstood. I sensed that there were sounds of fighting in Chiefing Courtyard and thought that you were attacked by evil people. That's why I brought the guards to save you." Without waiting for him to finish, Xue Lin coldly shouted with disdain, "Shut up. Don't call me little sister Xue anymore. You're not worthy at all. You only disgust me. Meng Yu, when are you going to stop acting? Stop wasting time. If you had been straightforward about your intentions, I would have respected you as a man. For a hypocritical and disgusting person like you, this monarch feels ashamed to even say a word to you." The words had already been said to this extent. If Meng Yu continued to act, then it would be too meaningless. He decided to stop pretending, and the sneer on his face slowly faded away. What replaced it was an ice-cold face and a pair of indifferent eyes filled with hatred. "Lin Xue, did you know? In order to wait for this day, I have waited for more than 1,100 years. Hao Yan still cares for me after all. You disappeared for more than 1,000 years and returned to Double Dragon City. Did you know? Since your father was killed, you chased after Lin Shan. Not long after you left Double Dragon City, something happened to my father. Do you know why my father was so kind-hearted and never caused trouble, but he was killed for revenge?" Seeing that Meng Yu had removed his hypocrisy and revealed his true colors, Xue Lin's heart finally calmed down. At least, she could deal with this matter calmly and decisively without worrying about their previous relationship. "Why? Are you trying to say that your father was killed by his enemy and had something to do with my father?" Xue Lin stared at Meng Yu coldly and sneered, "Ha ha ha. If you say so, then you can always find a pretext to condemn someone. Ha ha ha." Meng Yu immediately raised his head and laughed, his voice filled with sadness. "That's right. Not only did it have something to do with your father, but your father was the culprit." The sneer on Xue Lin's lips deepened, and she said indifferently, "Is that so? Then I'd like to hear what happened." Meng Yu's eyes were filled with hatred as he glared at her. Because your father Lin Wufa betrayed his sect, and even abducted the descendant of an ancient hidden clan. He knew that his sins were grave, but he did not repent and fled to the celestial beast kingdom to live in seclusion. He knew that he had committed an unforgivable mistake and would be killed by his sect and the hidden clan sooner or later. His closest relatives, disciples, and friends would all be implicated. But he hid all this and still called my father his brother. In the end, he was killed by his own disciple and even caused my father's death. Don't you think his sins were so grave that his death was not to be regretted? After hearing Meng Yu's words, Shui Lin was stunned. Her eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief and shock. For a moment she was speechless. Meng Yu grinned coldly and said in a mocking tone, "Huh? Back then, he betrayed his sect and killed his own master, then escaped from his sect. Who would have thought that good and evil would be repaid, and the heavens would have reincarnation? In the end, he died at the hands of his most valued disciple. This is retribution." Shui Lin gradually came back to her senses and glared at him fiercely. She asked in a low voice, "You said that my father betrayed his sect and betrayed his sect? And abducted the successor of a hidden clan?" "That's right." Meng Yu nodded, his tone firm. "I don't believe it. You're talking nonsense." Shui Lin shouted coldly. "Haha." Meng Yu sneered contemptuously. Lin Wufa's sect is one of the top 10 sects in the Yunyang region, the famous Dharma sect. And his master was the elder of the Dharma sect back then, the famous Yonghe celestial lord. As for the successor of the hidden clan, she was the daughter of the ancient Rakshasa tribe, your mother, Sha Yinyan. Meng Yu's tone was resolute and firm. Moreover, he had said it with a name. Shui Lin frowned, her pupils constricting as a cold light flashed in her eyes. What Yunyang region, Dharma sect, and Yonghe deity? She did not know anything about them. But she knew that her mother's name was indeed Sha Yinyan. Moreover, her mother's appearance were indeed very enchanting and beautiful, different from the ordinary divines. Not only was her mother's temperament special, her bloodline seemed to be very rare as well. Her father, Lin Wufa, was very obedient to her mother, taking care of her and pampering her to the extreme. In the past, Shui Lin did not know the reason and only thought that her parents had a deep love for each other, and were a rare immortal couple. Now that she heard Meng Yu's words, she knew that her parents' identities were complicated and there was more to it than meets the eye. Chapter 3303. Seeing that Lin Shui was silent, her expression complicated. Meng Yu's sneer deepened, and the hatred in his eyes deepened. Lin Wufa was so cruel and despicable. He hid it from everyone and caused the deaths of your mother and my father. He deserved to die. Do you know why Lin Shan wanted to kill him? Stealing your father's dragon sword Phoenix Saber technique was only one of the reasons. More importantly, Lin Shan inadvertently found out about your father's true identity, and the disaster your father had caused. Shut up. Lin Shui's anger had reached its peak, and she shouted with a cold face, interrupting Meng Yu. Her eyes were bloodshot as she glared at Meng Yu and asked, "You took your anger out on my father for your father's death. So, you sneaked into the Lin family's cave and destroyed my father and mother's tomb." Meng Yu sneered. "No, it was someone else who destroyed your father and mother's tomb. I was only leading the way for them. Moreover, your father's sins were grave. How could destroying his tomb resolve their hatred? Not only did they destroy your father's golden coffin, but they also dug out his body and burned his bones to ashes. Ha 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 ha, you must be very angry, right? Is your hatred so great that you want to know who the murderer is and cut him into pieces?" Lin Shui's heartbeat accelerated, and her breathing became rapid. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her whole body was burning with a dark red flame of murderous intent. She glared at Meng Yu with venomous eyes, and shouted angrily, "Meng Yu, tell me who is the murderer. If you know your wrongs and can change, maybe I will spare your life. Otherwise, I will cut you into pieces as well." Meng Yu did not take Lin Shui's threat to heart. He was also immersed in anger and resentment. His face was twisted with a cold smile. Lin Shui, do you know? Although my father was killed, I found out the murderer's identity. But the other party's status was too high, and his power was too strong. In order to save my life, I could only pretend not to know and rely on him, enduring the humiliation to survive. In these 1,000 years, do you know what kind of torment I have endured? And all of this is thanks to your father. Lin Shui suppressed her boiling anger and killing intent and continued to ask, no matter what, the dead are gone. You shouldn't have done such a thing. Moreover, there's more to my parents than meets the eye. It's definitely not what you're saying. I believe that my father is definitely not someone who would betray his master. There must be a misunderstanding here. Huh? Mengyu laughed disdainfully and shook his head repeatedly, disdaining to explain. Shuelin continued to hold back her anger and asked in a deep voice, my father passed away a long time ago, and now even his remains are gone. You've taken refuge with your father's murderer, and now you're trying so hard to keep me here. What are you trying to do? Could it be that you still want to capture me and hand me over to your father's murderer in exchange for merits and rewards? Mengyu's expression was ferocious as he sneered. Why not? Judging by the time, that lord should be here by now. Shuelin frowned and immediately understood what he meant. Mengyu, as early as 2 days ago, when you settled me in the Perching Phoenix courtyard, you had already leaked the information? Of course. Mengyu did not hide anything and sneered. I've been waiting for this day for 1,000 years. I can't wait any longer. Shuelin's anger and murderous intent had reached its peak, and she asked the last question. Who is your father's murderer? Why does he want to capture me? What does he want to do? Mengyu's smile became even more mocking, and he said in a strange tone, don't worry, you won't die for sure. The big shot who wants to capture you is a relative of yours. After all, Chayanzi's blood flows in your body. That is the noble blood of the ancient Rakshasa race. Who would be willing to let you die? I see. Shuelin gritted her teeth and said these 4 words. She did not ask any more questions, because she knew that time was very tight, and danger could come at any time. She no longer hesitated and waved the demon blade with both hands. Blood-colored blade light filled the sky and slashed towards the 50 guards in the southeast direction. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Blood-colored light burst out, and she turned into a blood-red light and rushed towards the group of guards. The 300 guards were full of vigilance. When they saw Shuelin suddenly attack, they did not hesitate to cast spells and counterattack. Mengyu and the 4 guards behind him also did not hesitate to draw their swords and attack Shuelin with all their strength. In an instant, thousands of divine spell lights appeared in the sky and illuminated thousands of miles of the world. Violent and devastating divine power ripples spread out in all directions, blowing up a shocking hurricane. Shuelin's figure was drowned, and the dozens of blood-colored blade lights she slashed out were also instantly defeated. In the next moment, she was surrounded by the crowd. Her shield was shattered by the sky full of blade lights and sword shadows, and she flew backwards with blood spurting out of her body. Bam! Bam bam bam! Following a series of muffled explosions, Mengyu and the many guards started a storm of pursuit. Thousands of divine spell lights bombarded Shuelin without stopping, and she was beaten back again and again, her injuries worsening. In just a few breaths, wounds appeared on her chest and back, and divine blood spurted out. Some of the wounds were so deep that bones could be seen. Some of the wounds cut through her bones and blood vessels, and damaged her meridians. Her clothes and long hair were soon dyed red with blood, looking rather wretched. Although the strength of the 300 guards was not considered powerful, they had the numbers advantage. Among them, there were 12 Divine Lord Realm Guard captains. Adding in Mengyu and the 4 personal guards, there were a total of 17 Divine Lord powerhouses. Especially Mengyu, his strength reached 9th level Divine Lord Realm, a realm higher than Shuelin. In addition, he grew up together with Shuelin since childhood. It could be said that he was very familiar with Shuelin's family inheritance divine abilities. This led to Shuelin falling into a disadvantage the moment the battle started, being beaten until she did not have the strength to fight back, her injuries worsening continuously. Even though Shuelin was very valiant, and her will was very tenacious, she completely ignored her own injuries, erupting with her strongest power, and launched a counterattack in the most berserk manner. But it was no use. It did not help at all. Both sides only fought for around 15 minutes, and she was heavily injured, her strength falling to 60%. Mengyu took out a simple and unadorned bronze chain again. With the help of the 4 personal guards, he cast a spell and took out this chain. Swoosh! The supreme monarch-grade bronze chain with the power to suppress everything fell from the sky and quickly tied Shui Lin up firmly, sealing her on the spot. Bastard! Mengyu, you will die a horrible death. Shui Lin struggled with all her might, but she could not break free from the binding of the bronze chain. She could only curse furiously. Mengyu sneered complacently, stretched out his hand to grab her, and led the many guards, turning around and flying towards the phoenix perching courtyard. Shui Lin finally escaped from the phoenix perching courtyard. In just a short 15 minutes, she returned to the manor. Mengyu imprisoned her in the secret underground chamber, opened a divine array to seal her, and let the 4 personal guards and 6 guard captains keep an eye on her at all times. In this way, Shui Lin was really trapped, unable to escape even if she had wings. Chapter 3304. At this moment the scorching sun was high in the sky. Ji Tianqing, dressed in a white robe, flew across the sky as fast as lightning. Chao Qingyu, dressed in a green robe and tall, followed closely behind him as if he was his fundamental guard. Although the two of them had different strength realms and were far apart. However, Ji Tianqing's aura was mysterious and powerful, which made people feel fearful. As for Chao Qingyu, he tried his best to restrain his God King aura, not revealing any energy fluctuations. On the surface, he looked ordinary and wouldn't attract any attention. Swoosh! The two of them flew to the sky above Double Dragon City and stopped in the clouds thousands of feet above the ground, hiding their figures. Ji Tianqing looked down at the city below and released an invisible divine sense, enveloping the entire Double Dragon City and searching. He was very familiar with Lin Shui's aura. As long as Lin Shui was in Double Dragon City, even if she was hiding in a secret room or array, he could sense it. Chao Qingyu didn't stay idle either. He also used a secret technique to investigate the situation in the city. Although he wasn't familiar with Lin Shui, but he could clearly distinguish how many god clans there were in Double Dragon City, and how many god monarch realm experts were hiding there. About 100 breaths later, Ji Tianqing retracted his divine sense and frowned. Obviously, he couldn't find Lin Shui's aura after searching Double Dragon City. Chao Qingyu also frowned slightly and shook his head at him. Young Master Tianqing, there are 6 god monarchs in this city, but they are all lower god monarchs. There are no upper god monarchs of the 8th stage. Ji Tianqing nodded and said, it seems that Lin Shui is not in Double Dragon City. However, Double Dragon City's territory is very big, so she might be somewhere else. Moreover, her parents settled here back then, so they must have found a paradise to build a cave residence. They definitely wouldn't live in the city. Hearing his analysis, Chao Qingyu nodded in agreement and said, we just need to search around Double Dragon City. That's the Dragon Vein treasure land where divine power gathers, and we'll be able to find Miss Lin. Ji Tianqing nodded and once again released his divine sense, extending it in all directions. Soon, everything within a 15,000-kilometer radius was enveloped by his divine sense and appeared clearly in his mind. The range of Chao Qingyu's divine sense was about the same as his, so there was no need for him to probe any further. A moment later, Ji Tianqing withdrew his divine sense and flew northwest with Chao Qingyu. To the south of Double Dragon City are forests and valleys. To the northwest are lofty mountains and peaks. The divine power there is obviously more abundant. Let's go there and see. As they spoke, the two of them flew across the sky like lightning, heading straight for the mountains in the northwest. Along the way, the two of them released their divine senses to explore the surrounding 30,000 miles, looking for clues and traces. The truth was just as Ji Tianqing had expected. The further northwest they flew, the more majestic the mountains and peaks became, and the more abundant the divine power became. The two of them crossed the mountains and flew for 100,000 miles before stopping above a mountain that was 3,000 feet tall. Ji Tianqing looked down at the giant mountain under his feet and said calmly, among the mountains in a radius of tens of thousands of miles, this place has the highest topography and the most abundant divine power. This is the Dragon Vein closest to Double Dragon City. It's very suitable for living and cultivating here. Chao Qingyu frowned slightly and asked worriedly, young master, it's true that this is a dragon vein, but we haven't found any traces or clues along the way. Could it be that we're going in the wrong direction? Or perhaps Miss Lin is very far from here? Double Dragon City's territory is so vast. If we search blindly like this, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. After a pause, he tried to ask, "How about you try to send a message to Miss Lin and see if you can contact her?" Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and smiled bitterly. "If I could send a message to her, I would have done so long ago. Why would I wait until now? Ever since she followed me, she's been by my side and has never left. So I didn't keep her message." Chao Qingyu was startled and smiled bitterly. "If that's the case, I'm afraid we'll be in trouble." As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Tianqing suddenly frowned, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. Before Chao Qingyu could ask, he landed on the mountain peak below. He leaped across the surrounding forest and landed on a grassland. A dozen millstone stones were scattered on the small grassland. They looked ancient and weathered. Ji Tianqing was silent. He made a gesture with his right hand and sent out beams of divine light into the air in front of him. Whoosh! 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 A 5-colored light screen lit up above the grassland, flickering dimly. Seeing this, Chao Qingyu was impressed. He nodded and said, "Young master, you're right. There really is a formation here. There must be a cave residence hidden inside." Ji Tianqing only nodded and didn't say anything else. He used a secret technique of the God's Eye and carefully observed the 5-colored light screen. In less than 100 breaths, he found a way to break it. Therefore, he made a gesture with both hands and used a formation technique to break the formation. Since he found a cave residence, he had to go in and check it out. Whoosh! 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 Thousands of divine lights flew back and forth like a rain of arrows and entered the 5-colored light screen. Chao Qingyu stood behind Ji Tianqing and carefully observed him. He learned from his experience of formations. Although he was a divine king, he was well aware that his attainments and knowledge in the Tao of formations were far from Ji Tianqing's. Soon 100 breaths had passed. Ji Tianqing had reached a critical moment in breaking the 5-colored light screen. At most, he would be able to break it in a few dozen breaths. However, at this moment, a dazzling divine light came from the sky in the northeast. Whoosh! In the dazzling divine light was a 1,000-foot-long divine warship. The dark golden divine warship was engraved with black patterns and mysterious patterns. It looked mysterious and noble. This was a supreme-grade divine warship. It was extremely fast and emitted powerful waves of divine power. In just 10 breaths, the divine warship flew thousands of miles across the sky and arrived above Ji Tianqing's head. At this moment, the divine warship suddenly stopped and floated at a height of 40,000 feet. Ji Tianqing only glanced at the divine warship and ignored it. He continued to break the formation. Chao Qingyu frowned slightly and secretly stared at the divine warship. In case of danger, he could protect Ji Tianqing. Whoosh! The golden divine warship with black patterns suddenly opened its hatch and a large group of experts flew out. The leader was an elder with a goatee who wore a purple divine robe and had a sinister aura. Following closely behind him were 4 mighty upper-level divine lords in golden armor. There were also more than 30 middle-level divine lords. They all wore silver divine armor and helmets and held divine spears. These people were all dressed the same and their actions showed that they were well trained. Most importantly, the armor in front of their chests was embroidered with the same insignia and patterns. Chapter 3305. Including the purple-robed elder, a total of 37 divine lords stood high in the sky, looking down at Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu. One of the golden-armored divine lords saw Ji Tianqing's actions and his expression changed. He frowned, his face dark, his eyes flashing with killing intent. He cast an inquiring look at the purple-robed elder. Seeing the purple-robed elder nod slightly, he took a few steps forward and shouted angrily at Ji Tianqing, "Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously here?" However, Ji Tianqing did not even raise his head, ignoring his words and continuing to break the divine array. Chao Qingyu merely raised his eyelids, his expression indifferent. That high divine lord was disregarded and only felt incomparably humiliated. In his anger, he waved his hand and led the 32 middle-level divine lords to land on the mountain peak. "Bastard! I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? Stop casting immediately or we'll kill you." With his angry shout, The 32 middle-level divine lords drew their weapons and surrounded Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu. Instantly, the atmosphere on the mountain peak was heavy and murderous. Ji Tianqing was not disturbed at all and continued to cast spells to break the array. However, Chao Qingyu no longer remained silent. He looked coldly at the golden-armored divine lord and said indifferently, "This is the wilderness. What we do here has nothing to do with you. Also, you best show some respect. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets." His temperament was relatively calm, so he did not care about these Sir Gods. He would not get angry because of this. Of course, if Ji Tianqing gave the order or if the other party insisted on seeking death, he would not mind annihilating them. Not only did the golden-armored divine lord fail to intimidate Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu, he was even warned. This made him even angrier. His face twisted as he shouted coldly, "Where did this lowly brute come from? How dare you be so rude to me? Do you know who I am? Who was this honorable big shot up there? Why aren't you kneeling down and admitting your guilt? Otherwise, your lives will be in danger." Chao Qingyu looked at him expressionlessly and said indifferently, "I don't care who you are. But you guys are too annoying." As his voice fell, he casually waved his hand as if he was swatting away a fly. However, a wild, sacred, and imperious god force suddenly burst out and swept the surroundings. The golden-armored High God Sovereign and the 32 God Sovereigns didn't even have time to react before they were swept away by the terrifying divine power. Bang! Bang bang bang! Instantly, there was a series of dull thuds as the 33 Sir Gods were sent flying by the violent divine power. All of them spat out blood as they were sent tumbling backward for over 10 miles, falling off the cliff. The golden-armored higher divine lord was stronger. After falling off the cliff, just before he was about to fall into the deep valley, he forcefully twisted his body and flew back into the sky. However, those 32 middle-level divine lords were directly knocked unconscious. Like dumplings being dropped into a pot, they fell into the deep valley with a plop sound. Instantly, dust flew into the air around the mountain peak and the deep valley began to shake. The golden-armored higher divine lord was dumbfounded. He completely ignored his wretched appearance and continued to spit out blood from his injuries. He glared angrily at Chao Qingyu and cursed in a trembling voice, You're too audacious." He wasn't the only one stunned. Even the purple-robed elder and the 3 golden-armored higher divine lords standing in the sky were dumbfounded. These 4 experts all had the appropriate foresight and knowledge. They were definitely not reckless people. Of course, they understood how terrifying it was for Chao Qingyu to send 33 Sir Gods flying with a wave of his hand. After all, even the strongest of them, the purple-robed elder, couldn't do it. After coming back to his senses, the purple-robed elder's expression turned extremely dark and his eyes burned with the flames of anger. The other party was in the Celestial Demon Empire, but didn't know his status and authority, and dared to injure his subordinates. This was simply a provocation and humiliation to him. The other 3 golden-armored high divine lords also had indignant looks on their faces. They couldn't hold back their anger and immediately stepped out, wanting to join forces to deal with Chao Qingyu. Even if they knew that they were not Chao Qingyu's match, they still had to brace themselves. However, just as the 4 higher divine lords gathered and drew their weapons at the same time, wanting to join forces to deal with Chao Qingyu, only to hear a soft swoosh. The 5-colored light screen above the grassland was finally cracked by Ji Tianqing. A gap appeared in the dim light screen like a door. The purple-robed elder was stunned for a moment and hurriedly opened his mouth to berate. "All of you, get back here for this seat. Don't you find it embarrassing enough?" The 4 higher divine lords hurriedly stopped in their tracks and put away their weapons. They secretly heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly retreated to the purple-robed elder's side. Not only did they not have to send themselves to death, they could also display their loyalty. This feeling was really too good. Of course, after this incident they were even more loyal. "Go and wake up those trash. Don't embarrass this seat." The purple-robed elder ordered 2 of the higher divine lords with a black face. The 2 of them acknowledged the order and hurriedly flew to the deep valleys on both sides of the mountain peak to wake up those unconscious middle divine lords. At this moment, Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu had yet to enter the cave abode. The 2 of them raised their heads and looked at the purple-robed elder expressionlessly. The purple-robed elder looked down at the two of them and said with a dark expression, "Although your strength is extraordinary, don't forget that this is the territory of the Celestial Demon Empire. It's better to keep a low profile when walking here. Otherwise, you will definitely not be able to move an inch." Although the purple-robed elder's words had a strong threat, he had endured it. However, this meant that he had swallowed his anger and would not continue to pester her. He was about to leave. The purple-robed elder knew that the cave abode Ji Tianqing opened was the Lin family's cave abode. He was more interested in the Lin family's cave abode because it might be useful in the future. But right now he had more important things to do and could not waste time here. Moreover, that god race man in green robes was terrifyingly powerful and his methods were unfathomable. If a conflict really broke out, the outcome would be unbearable. Therefore, after leaving behind these harsh words, the purple-robed elder led the many divine lord guards and quickly flew over the mountain peak. The purple-robed elder was at the front and the 4 higher divine lords in golden armor followed behind him. At the very back of the group were the 32 severely injured middle-level divine lords who were still in a daze. Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu stood on the grass and watched the group leave. They only retracted their gazes when the group disappeared over the horizon. Ji Tianqing said with a calm expression, "This group of people is extraordinary and they are wearing standard armor. They seem well trained. From what the goateed elder said, they are most likely officials of the Celestial Demon Empire. Qingyu, pay more attention to them and remember their divine power aura." Chao Qingyu hurriedly nodded and said, "Don't worry, young master. I've already remembered it. Furthermore, I've also detected that they flew 30,000 miles in that direction before landing outside a manor." Chapter 3306. What happened just now was just a small interlude. Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu did not take it to heart. The most important thing now was to find Lin Shui. Forget it. Ignore them. Let's take a look at this cave first. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and let Chao Qingyu through the gap in the light screen. Swoosh! The next moment, the two entered an alternate space and appeared on a wasteland. Looking around, it was a vast wasteland. There were only sparse weeds and scattered small trees. Further away, there were a few mountains and large forests, but they had all collapsed. It was a mess. Ji Tianqing frowned and released his divine sense in all directions, probing further into the distance. Chao Qingyu could not help but frown and muttered, "Such a harsh environment. Even the divine power is extremely thin. How can it be used as a cave to live and cultivate?" "Young master, I think this used to be a cave of an expert, but it was destroyed." Ji Tianqing nodded and said, "This cave is not big. It has a radius of about 10,000 miles. Let's go to the innermost part. There is something there." With that, he led Chao Qingyu and flew across the wasteland, over the collapsed mountains, and into the innermost part of the cave. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the top of a ruined mountain. There was a small platform at the top of the mountain. There was a mausoleum with a radius of 100 feet, and a tombstone that was 100 feet tall. The mausoleum and the tombstone were very new and did not fit in with the surrounding ruins. Ji Tianqing only took a few glances to see the clues. This mausoleum was repaired in recent days. The tombstone was also just erected. Chao Qingyu nodded and analyzed. The surroundings of the mausoleum are dilapidated like ruins, but the mausoleum and tombstone are new. So, someone came here in recent days and repaired the mausoleum and tombstone? That's right, Ji Tianqing replied. Then, his eyes fell on the 100 feet tall stone tablet. On the dark brown stone tablet, there were a few lines of dark red words engraved on it. The words clearly read, "The tomb of loving Father Lin Wufa and virtuous Mother Lin." At the bottom right corner of the tombstone, there were 6 dark red words. Unfilial daughter Lin Shui. Seeing these lines, Ji Tianqing's brows slightly relaxed. Chao Qingyu was also enlightened. He nodded and said, "Young master, we were right. This is Miss Lin's home, the Lin clan's cave residence. Miss Lin's parents were buried in this mausoleum. She must have returned here 3 days ago to pay respects to her parents and renovate the mausoleum and tombstone." Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said in a low voice, "I'm afraid things aren't that simple. If she had only come back to pay respects to her parents and repair the mausoleum, she would have returned to the divine ship a long time ago. However, she still hadn't appeared, nor was she in this cave. I'm afraid she met with some trouble, or she went somewhere else. Chao Qingyu couldn't help but frown. He asked worriedly, then what should we do? Where should we find her? Ji Tianqing thought for a moment and raised his eyebrows. He said, don't worry, I have a way. After that, he turned and left with Chao Qingyu. They rushed to the exit of the cave residence. 15 minutes ago, in the phoenix perching courtyard, Meng Yu and 4 black-armored guards stood respectfully in the first courtyard, waiting patiently. After a while, a purple-robed elder with a goatee stepped into the manor with 4 golden-armored high-level divine lords and 32 silver-armored middle-level divine lords. Meng Yu hurried to greet him with a smile. He bowed respectfully and said, I, Meng Yu, await the arrival of the Imperial Advisor. I also welcome the 4 commanders and the 32 captains of the Imperial Army. Meng Yu was extremely humble and enthusiastic. He was not only respectful to the Imperial Advisor. He even took care of the 4 Imperial Army marshals and 32 Imperial Army captains that the Imperial tutor had brought with him. The Imperial Advisor was very satisfied with his performance. He nodded slightly and said, Meng Yu, you are very considerate. Please rise. Thank you, Imperial Advisor. Meng Yu smiled and thanked him. He hurried to lead the Imperial Advisor into the hall to have tea. Throughout the entire process, he nodded and bowed with a flattering expression, not feeling the slightest bit of shame. The 4 Imperial Army marshals secretly sneered. The 32 captains of the Imperial Army were originally seriously injured and in a bad state. They were depressed. Now that they saw Meng Yu's attitude and how respectful he was to them, they felt much better. After the Imperial Advisor sat down, he wasn't in the mood to drink tea. He asked directly, Meng Yu, is Lin Shui still in this manner? Did she notice anything unusual? Meng Yu hurriedly bowed and answered with a smile, Imperial Advisor is wise. Lin Shui is not stupid. She noticed something was wrong early this morning. She brutally broke through the defensive formation and escaped from the manor. However, I was prepared and came in time to intercept her. Now, she is bound by the soul-suppressing chain and suppressed in the secret chamber of the underground palace. Very good. The Imperial Advisor was obviously relieved. He hurriedly got up and walked out of the hall. Let's go. Take me to find her now. Meng Yu was startled and hurriedly persuaded, Imperial Advisor, you don't have to worry. Lin Shui is seriously injured and sealed by me. It's impossible for her to escape. You are a noble and peerless 10,000 vehicle body. How can I let you go to the dark underground palace to find her? Please wait here for a moment. I will bring her up and hand her over to you. The Imperial Advisor thought for a moment and felt that he was too impatient. He was not calm and dignified enough. So, he pretended to cough twice and deliberately put on a calm and dignified posture. He nodded and said, well, Meng Yu is considerate. Go and do it. Meng Yu hurriedly bowed and retreated. He hurriedly rushed to the secret chamber of the underground palace. In less than 100 breaths of time, he carried Lin Shui, who was covered in blood and in a sorry state, back to the hall. Plop! Meng Yu did not have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. He threw Lin Shui heavily on the ground and reported to the Imperial Advisor. Imperial Advisor, I have brought Lin Shui here. Please deal with her. As soon as he saw Lin Shui, the Imperial Advisor's eyes were fixed on her and could not move away. Well, you can leave. He waved his hand and let Meng Yu step aside. He looked at Lin Shui with a dignified gaze. At this time, Lin Shui was tightly bound by the soul-suppressing chain. Her divine power was also sealed. She could only sit on the ground and could not resist at all. Her blue dress had long been dyed red with blood, and her long hair was draped over her shoulders, covering her face. Although she was seriously injured, she was not unconscious. She was still conscious. Hearing Meng Yu's words, she looked up at the Imperial Advisor, and then looked at the commanders and captains of the Imperial Guards. Imperial Advisor? The Imperial Advisor of the Celestial Beast Empire? Lin Shui frowned and her face was full of anger. She thought to herself, this person is a peak monarch god. There are 4 upper monarchs and 32 middle monarchs. Looking at their attire, Most of them should be the elite imperial guards of the Celestial Beast Empire. If I fall into the hands of the imperial advisor, even if I have great ability, I will never be able to escape. It's over, I'm dead for sure. Sword breaking the 9 heavens. Chapter 3307. Under such circumstances, Xuelin's heart was filled with sorrow and despair. The white-robed, black-haired figure in the depths of her mind became clearer and more imposing. At this moment a thought flashed through her mind. Tianxing, if you could come in time and save me, wouldn't that be great? Of course this thought was fleeting. She knew that it was indeed a bit reckless of her to return to Double Dragon City. Other than Chao Qingyu, she hadn't told anyone else. Chao Qingyu wasn't familiar with her and wouldn't care about her safety. Now that 3 days had passed, Chao Qingyu must have left Double Dragon City on the divine ship. As for Ji Tianxing, he must still be cultivating in seclusion. Chao Qingyu wouldn't dare disturb him. Even if Ji Tianxing was a peerless genius, he couldn't predict the future. How could he come to Chiefing Court to save her? At this thought, only bitterness and regret remained in Xuelin's heart. At this moment, the advisor waved his hand and sent out a beam of golden light. It blew away Xuelin's messy hair and lifted her chin. Xuelin, raise your head. Let me see you. Even though Xuelin was extremely unwilling. However, the golden divine light held her chin and lifted her head bit by bit, allowing her to look into the eyes of the imperial tutor. Although her expression was gloomy and angry, and her face was stained with blood. However, after the state preceptor observed her for a moment, he suddenly grinned. You really are Sha Yinzi's daughter. You look exactly like her, at least 80% similar. Xuelin frowned and asked in a low voice, You're the advisor of the Celestial Beast Kingdom? What do you want? I have no quarrel with you. The advisor smiled meaningfully. Xuelin, since you know who I am, you should know that you have no chance of escaping once you're in my hands. No quarrel? Looks like your father hid everything from you. Even you were kept in the dark. He deceived his master, destroyed his ancestors, and even abducted our clan's successor, causing our clan to suffer huge losses, and almost half of our clan was destroyed. Tell me, I have an irreconcilable enmity with your father. How can you say that there is no enmity between us? Seeing that Xuelin was silent, the national preceptor deliberately pretended to be amiable and said in a gentle tone, however, Your father has already received his retribution and is dead. The dead are gone. I will be magnanimous and will not pursue his sins any further. It's just that your mother originally had a bright future ahead of her. She could have become the saintess of our clan and led our clan to glory. Unfortunately, she was muddle-headed and committed an unforgivable sin. She caused our clan to suffer heavy losses and even lost her life. Of course, your parents have already passed away for over 1,000 years, so I don't want to pursue the matter any further. You don't have to hate me so much. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. After all, you and I share the same bloodline of the Rakshasa clan. In terms of seniority, you still have to call me uncle. Xuelin was stunned for a moment. Then she sneered disdainfully, Uncle? Haha, I only have father and mother. I don't have any bullshit uncle. You're even less worthy. The national preceptor's face darkened. The corners of his eyes twitched and a trace of haze flashed across his eyes. An Imperial Guard commander next to him very sensibly raised his palm and shot out a few rays of divine light, slapping towards Xuelin's face. Audacious bitch. How dare you be rude to the national preceptor? Your sin is unforgivable. Slap. Slap slap. Following a few crisp slaps, Xuelin's cheeks immediately swelled and bled. Blood also flowed out of her mouth and nose. The national preceptor waved his hand hypocritically and said with a compassionate attitude, Forget it. Commander Wu, you step back. No matter how disobedient Xuelin is, she is still a disciple of our clan. How can I bear to blame her? Xuelin watched his performance and ridiculed mercilessly. Old thing, don't pretend here. It's really disgusting. You let Mengyu capture me. What scheme do you have? Don't tell me that you want to acknowledge me as your family. That will only make people laugh their heads off. The national preceptor was so angry that his eyebrows twitched. His face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He finally understood Xuelin's character. He could only suppress his anger and said in a deep voice, "I just said that you don't have to worry. I won't kill you. I came to Double Dragon City this time to take you away and acknowledge your ancestors." "Bah," Xuelin said fiercely, "don't be so self-righteous. My parents are dead. I have no relatives and I'm not from the Rakshasa clan. You just hate my parents but you don't have a chance to take revenge, so you take it out on me. If you want to torture me to relieve your hatred, you'd better give up. I would rather kill myself than let you have your way." The National Preceptor immediately sneered and said confidently, "I don't want to say it again. You're in my hands. Your life is no longer in your hands. If you accept your fate, you'll suffer less. If you're stubborn, don't blame me for being ruthless." Then the National Preceptor formed a divine spell with his right hand and activated all his power. He struck out a dazzling divine seal. Swoosh! The complicated and mysterious seal drilled into Xuelin's forehead like a special symbol. Xuelin realized that something was wrong. She wanted to dodge and resist, but she couldn't. After entering her forehead, the special mark that was flickering with blood-colored light merged with her godhead and hid itself. Although the special symbol didn't erupt with power for the time being, she didn't know what effect or threat it had. But Xuelin didn't need to guess to know that it could control her life and death. She glared at the National Preceptor and cursed angrily, "Damn bastard, you're despicable and insidious." However, the verbal attack was useless. The National Preceptor wasn't angry. He even sneered proudly, "Little girl, accept your fate. Your life and death as well as your fate are all in my hands. Obey my orders obediently. It'll be good for you and me." Haha. Laughing, the National Preceptor stood up and walked out of the hall. 4 Imperial guards hurried to follow. 2 of them followed the National Preceptor, and the other 2 escorted Xuelin. Mengyu also hurried to follow. He bowed and said, "I'll send you off, National Preceptor." It seemed like he was sending the National Preceptor off, but in reality, he was reminding the National Preceptor not to forget his contribution. The National Preceptor walked to the entrance of the hall and stopped. He didn't turn around and said in a dignified tone, "Mengyu, you've done a great job this time. I'll remember your contribution. Wait patiently. When I'm done with my business, I'll give you a corresponding reward." Hearing this, Mengyu seemed to have eaten a pill of reassurance. He said with a face full of joy, "Thank you, National Preceptor, for your help. I'll be loyal to you even if I have to sacrifice my life." The National Preceptor couldn't be bothered to listen to his nonsense. He waved his sleeves and stepped out of the hall. Not long after, everyone left the Phoenix Perching courtyard and boarded the 1,000-feet-long divine ship. They left as fast as lightning. Chapter 3308. Mengyu stood at the entrance of Perching Phoenix courtyard with 4 guards, watching the Imperial Advisor's divine warship leave. It was only when the divine warship disappeared into the horizon that he retracted his gaze, the smile on his face fading away. He frowned and muttered to himself, "Strange, why is the Imperial Preceptor flying south? He should be heading north to return to the Imperial City, but he's flying south. Doesn't that mean he has to leave the Empire and enter the Cloudyong region in the south?" Mengyu's face darkened when he suddenly thought of this question. He cursed under his breath, "Damn it. That damned old fox, he's most likely bringing Lin Shui to the Cloudyong region to deal with the Rakshasa tribe. Once he's done with the Rakshasa tribe, he'll return to the Imperial City of the Celestial Beast Empire and help me become a princess. I wonder how long I'll have to wait before I can become a princess. If something happens to that old fox, or if he stays in the Rakshasa tribe and doesn't come back, won't my efforts be in vain?" Thinking of this, Mengyu's face darkened even more, anger rising in him. However, his ability was lacking and his status was low. No matter how angry and unwilling he was, he could only suppress it. After all, he had a favor to ask of the Imperial Advisor, and there was nothing he could do. After taking a few deep breaths, he calmed his anger and said coldly, "Let's go back to the residence of the city lord." As he spoke, he was about to fly into the sky and return to Twin Dragon City with his 4 guards. However, something strange happened. There was no sound behind him, and no one answered him. Puzzled, he turned around subconsciously, only to find that the 4 black armored guards were gone. Meng Yu was shocked, looking around vigilantly, searching for the black armored guards. At this moment, a few black shadows descended from the sky and landed beside him, stirring up a cloud of dust on the ground. Meng Yu looked down and saw 4 lifeless corpses lying on the ground. Even though there wasn't a single wound on their bodies, not even a drop of blood could be seen. Their deities had long been shattered, and their souls had been obliterated. There was no doubt. These 4 corpses were his most loyal bodyguards. Meng Yu froze, his face pale, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. For second-level Divine Lord Realm guards, being killed was not considered a very horrifying thing. The real horror was that the 4 guards had been killed right beside him. They had died without a sound, and he was completely unaware of it. From this, it could be seen how powerful the person who attacked was. Who was it? Come out. Meng Yu pulled out the divine sword with a heart full of fear, tensed up all the nerves in his body, and searched around for traces of the enemy. At this time he saw that there were 2 figures 10 steps in front of him. One of them was a handsome young man in a white robe with a head full of black hair, and the other was a tall and ordinary-looking God Clan man. The 2 of them, one in front and one behind, stared at him expressionlessly like master and servant. Meng Yu immediately tightened his grip on the divine sword. He stared sharply at the white-robed youth and asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? Why did you assassinate my guards? I don't know you, so I don't think I have any grudges with you, right?" Without a doubt, the 2 people who suddenly appeared were Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu. When the 2 of them left the Lin family cave mansion, they went to Double Dragon City and sneaked into the City Lord's mansion. Ji Tianqing planned to control the Double Dragon City Lord and interrogate him for clues and information about Lin Shui. If the other party didn't know, he would order the Double Dragon City Lord to use all his power to find Lin Shui. After all, the Double Dragon City Lord was a local tyrant. He could mobilize countless spies and informants. But unfortunately, the Double Dragon City Lord was not in the City Lord's mansion. Ji Tianqing caught the housekeeper and used a little trick to interrogate the whereabouts of the Double Dragon City Lord. Knowing that the Double Dragon City Lord was in the Phoenix Perching Court, he remembered that the purple-robed elder and many imperial guards had entered the Phoenix Perching Court. So he and Chao Qingyu hurried to the Phoenix Perching Court. The 2 of them hid in the dark and investigated the situation in the main hall. At that time, Lin Shui was bound by bronze chains and sat paralyzed in the main hall, covered in blood. The imperial advisor made a special mark and injected it into Lin Shui's godhead, controlling her life and death. Chao Qingyu wanted to attack decisively and force his way into the main hall to save Lin Shui. But Ji Tianqing noticed the abnormality and realized that this matter involved a lot of people and was complicated and strange. So he and Chao Qingyu hid in the dark and continued to observe. It wasn't until the imperial advisor left with Lin Shui that he and Chao Qingyu showed up and killed Meng Yu's 4 guards. At this moment, the 2 of them looked at Meng Yu with cold and merciless eyes as if they were looking at a dead man. Meng Yu was intimidated by Ji Tianqing's power and felt a chill on his back. Ji Tianqing ignored him and said to Chao Qingyu, "Take him down. I'll interrogate him as we go." "Okay." Chao Qingyu nodded without hesitation and raised his right hand to grab Meng Yu. Meng Yu realized that something was wrong and teleported without hesitation, trying to escape. However, Chao Qingyu's seemingly ordinary claw locked down 100 miles of space and suppressed Meng Yu. Meng Yu couldn't move at all and his body was frozen in place. He could only be captured by Chao Qingyu. Chao Qingyu flicked his fingers and shot out 9 beams of godly light into Meng Yu's body. Suddenly, Meng Yu's godly body, godhead, and godly power were sealed as if he had been petrified. Other than being able to speak and think, he couldn't do anything else. Chao Qingyu took out the imperial-level ship and followed Ji Tianqing into the ship. Then, he drove the ship away from the Perching Phoenix Court and flew south as fast as lightning to catch up with the imperial advisor and Lin Shui. He handed Meng Yu over to Ji Tianqing and Ji Tianqing took him to a dark secret room. Plop, Ji Tianqing threw Meng Yu on the ground, then casually pulled over a divine jade chair and sat down in an imposing manner. He stepped on Meng Yu's face with one foot and looked down at Meng Yu. He said coldly, "You are the Double Dragon City Lord? I don't like to waste time. Tell me honestly, what is your relationship with Lin Shui? Why did you become the imperial advisor's lackey and murder Lin Shui? You only have one chance to answer after you think it through. If there is any falsehood, I will make you regret being born into this world. Although Ji Tianqing didn't get angry, the invisible pressure made Meng Yu very frightened and cold sweat broke out all over his body. He showed a pleading look and begged with a sobbing voice, "Senior, please forgive me. Please don't be angry. I have no enmity with Lin Shui and I don't want to harm her, but I have no choice but to follow orders." Before Meng Yu could finish, Ji Tianqing's eyes turned cold. He flicked his right hand and shot out a ball of purple fire into Meng Yu's right palm. Suddenly, his entire right palm burned fiercely and his flesh and bone turned to ashes. The incomparable pain made Meng Yu's body twitch and his face twist as he let out a heart-wrenching scream. Moreover, after his palm was burned to ashes, the purple fire didn't weaken at all and spread up his wrist. Meng Yu was tortured to the point where he wanted to die and his mind was about to collapse. Chapter 3309. In less than 10 breaths of time, Meng Yu's entire right arm was burned to ashes. The unparalleled pain and torture broke his will as he cried and begged for mercy. "Senior, please spare my life. I was wrong. I'll confess everything. Senior, please give me another chance." Fortunately, Meng Yu's divine body was sealed and he could not move. Otherwise, he would have kowtowed and begged for mercy. With a wave of his hand, Ji Tianqing kept the purple hellish fire. Meng Yu was finally released from the pain. He panted violently as cold sweat poured down his body. After a while he recovered and calmed down a little. He told the truth, "Senior, I'm the Twin Dragon City Lord Meng Yu. More than 1,000 years ago, Lin Shui's father Lin Wufa and my father Meng Qua were best friends. Our two families have been friends for generations." Under the threat of pain and death, Meng Yu confessed his identity, his relationship with Lin Shui, and the origin of the hatred. After he finished, Ji Tianqing frowned and asked, "Lin Wufa betrayed his master and ancestors? Lin Shui's mother Sha Yanzi is the Rakshasa tribe's saint? What's going on? Tell me the truth." Meng Yu dared not hide anything. He told him everything. There's a Dharma sect in the Cloudyoung region in the south. It's one of the top 10 sects in Cloudyoung region. Lin Wufa was a disciple of the Dharma sect. His master was an elder of the sect. I don't know what happened 2,000 years ago. He killed his master and escaped from the Dharma sect. Later he met the Rakshasa tribe's saint, Sha Yanzi, and somehow a deep bond was planted between them. So much so that Sha Yanzi betrayed the Rakshasa tribe and followed him out of Cloudyoung region, hiding in Tianbei region. Meng Yu told Ji Tianqing everything he knew. Ji Tianqing repeatedly asked a few more times. Seeing that Meng Yu really didn't know any more inside information, he finally stopped. "These things are confidential. How would a small twin dragon city lord like you know about them?" Meng Yu looked sad and angry as he explained, "Because Sha Yanzi and Lin Wufa died one after another. Lin Shui also chased after Lin Shan and left the Celestial Beast Empire. However, the Dharma sect's people traced all the way to the Celestial Beast Empire and found my father Meng Qua. The 10,000 Laws sect was vicious and merciless. They tortured my father and forced him to reveal Lin Wufa's whereabouts. When they found out that Lin Wufa was dead, and that the Lin clan had been destroyed, the Dharma sect took their anger out on my father and beat him to the point of death. Not long after that, the Rakshasas found Double Dragon City. Compared to the 10,000 Dharma sect, Luoxia of the Rakshasa clan is even more brutal. He actually killed my father." At this point, Meng Yu gnashed his teeth, his eyes filled with hatred. Although he left Double Dragon City in time, he thought he did it discreetly. "But after I succeeded as the city lord, after many years of investigation, I finally found out the truth. However, at that time, Luoxia had already gained the emperor's trust and was conferred the title of imperial tutor. I'm weak and powerless. I don't have the qualifications to avenge my father." However, Luoxia still refused to give up and wanted to track down Shui Lin's whereabouts. Therefore, he returned to Double Dragon City as the national advisor and recruited me to work for him to monitor the residents of the Lin family. I couldn't refuse and could only endure the humiliation and quietly accumulate power. Only then did Ji Tianqing know that the imperial tutor of the celestial beast empire was called Luo Xia. He was a key figure of the Rakshasa clan. He stared coldly at Meng Yu and asked in a low voice, "So you ignored the friendship of the Lin clan and betrayed Xue Lin without hesitation? In order to get the reward from the national advisor, you deliberately captured Xue Lin and handed her over to the national advisor?" Meng Yu was silent for a moment before he said angrily, "What's wrong with me doing that? They killed my father. My father is innocent." Haha. Ji Tianqing sneered. The one who was hunted by the 10,000 Dharma sect and the Rakshasa clan was Lin Wu Fa. Xue Lin didn't know. She's innocent. Meng Yu was agitated. He shouted without hesitation, "But she's the daughter of Lin Wu Fa and Sha Yanzi. She's not innocent." Ji Tianqing looked at him expressionlessly. His eyes were cold as he said indifferently, "If that's the case, then you can die." As his voice fell, he slowly raised his right hand and pressed it on Meng Yu's head. Meng Yu's face turned ashen. He asked in a panic, "Why? Why do you want to kill me? I've already told you everything I know. You didn't keep your word. You untrustworthy bastard." Ji Tianqing sneered. "Xue Lin is innocent, but you think she deserves to die. You plan to capture her and hand her over to the national advisor Luo Xia. You wanted to kill her. Don't you deserve to die?" Meng Yu was stunned for a moment before he shouted, "No. She won't die. Luo Xia is from the same clan as her. I only captured her to bring her back to the Rakshasa clan. Luo Xia won't kill her." Ji Tianqing frowned and asked, "Are you sure?" Of course. Meng Yu seemed to see the hope of survival. He quickly said, "Xue Lin is Sha Yanzi's daughter. She's very important to the Rakshasa clan. Luo Xia won't dare to kill her." Ji Tianqing thought for a moment and vaguely guessed the reason. Only then did he feel much more at ease. Therefore, he revealed a mocking sneer at Meng Yu and said, "Your mission is complete. It's time to rest." As he said that, his right palm exploded with terrifying divine power and fiercely slapped Meng Yu's head. Bam! With a muffled sound, Meng Yu's head was intact. However, the terrifying divine power seeped into his mind and shattered his godhead. Meng Yu's life was instantly cut off. His body stiffened on the spot. His eyes were wide open and he still maintained a shocked expression. He didn't expect Ji Tianqing to be so ruthless. No matter how much he begged for mercy and revealed all his secrets, he couldn't escape death. After killing Meng Yu, Ji Tianqing didn't show any emotion. His right hand rotated a few times above Meng Yu's head and took out his godhead shard. Then Ji Tianqing waved his hand and shot out a netherworld purple flame, burning Meng Yu's divine body to ashes. He began to refine Meng Yu's godhead shard and absorb Meng Yu's soul memories to ensure that Meng Yu didn't hide any important information. Before they knew it, half a month had passed. In this half a month, Chao Qingyu drove the king-level divine ship and caught up with Imperial Advisor Luo Xia's divine ship. They flew all the way south. Along the way, the Green Jade divine ship followed behind the Imperial Advisor, maintaining a distance of a few thousand miles. The Green Jade divine ship remained invisible and restrained its aura. It wasn't discovered by the Imperial Advisor. Ji Tianqing had already refined Meng Yu's godhead shard and taken Meng Yu's soul memories. Reality proved that Meng Yu didn't know many secrets. In order to survive, he spilled everything. He didn't keep any important secrets. Ji Tianqing understood the whole story and was sure that the Imperial Advisor wouldn't kill Xue Lin. Thus, he patiently followed along. He decided to follow the Imperial Advisor into the Rakshasa territory and save Xue Lin after figuring out the situation. Chapter 33:10. On the morning of the 16th day, Imperial Advisor Luo Xia's divine ship entered the hinterland of Cloudyoung region and flew into a vast mountain range. The entire region spanned 1,000,000 miles, was filled with endless primeval forests and towering mountains. There were few people here, a paradise for all kinds of monsters and divine beasts. Danger lurked everywhere. Those who were not divine lords dared not enter this region, or they would be in danger of losing their lives. Seeing Luo Xia's divine ship gradually slowing down, Ji Tianqing guessed that they were about to arrive at the Rakshasa tribe's territory. As expected, for hours later, Luosie's divine ship flew into a canyon that was hundreds of thousands of feet deep and disappeared into the clouds. The canyon was surrounded by mountains on all sides, and all of them were lofty peaks that reached up to 3,000 feet in height and were covered with lush forests. Chao Qingyu did not hesitate as he steered the divine ship into the canyon, flying forward through the clouds. Ji Tianqing's deific consciousness detected that Luosie's divine ship had flown to the deepest part of the canyon and stopped in the clouds. Then, Luosie left the divine ship with 4 Imperial Guard commanders and 32 Imperial Guard captains. Lin Shui was still restrained by 2 Imperial Guard commanders, bound by bronze chains, looking as wretched as ever. However, after half a month of slow self-healing, the wounds on her body were close to healing and her condition was much more stable. Luosie kept the divine ship and began to cast a secret spell, releasing vast divine power into the depths of the canyon. Soon, a layer of hazy light screen lit up in midair. At a glance, one could tell that it was a barrier formation. Chao Qingyu also slowed down the divine ship and asked Ji Tianqing, "Young master, that group of people should be entering a secret realm. What should we do?" Ji Tianqing thought for a moment and said, "The divine ship is too big of a target and will be easily exposed. Let's keep the divine ship and follow them in to take a look." Chao Qingyu also agreed with this idea, and hurriedly put away the divine warship. He and Ji Tianqing passed through the clouds, remaining invisible and concealing their auras as they flew toward Luosie and the others. Fortunately, the marshals and captains of the Imperial Army were not strong enough to notice anything amiss. Luosie was so focused on casting the spell to open the entrance of the barrier that he didn't notice Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu's approach. A quarter of an hour later, Luosie finished casting, and a door appeared on the 5-colored light curtain. Shua! He led Shuelin, the commanders, and the captains through the door and disappeared into the sky. Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu hurriedly followed. They were at the very back of the group, and they silently passed through the door and entered the alternate dimension. After a while, the door closed, and the multicolored light curtain gradually disappeared. Everyone appeared in an alternate dimension one after another. This was a magnificent paradise, with a radius of 50,000 miles. The land was extremely vast. The sun shone brightly in the azure sky, the green earth was lush with vegetation, and there were many colorful rocks scattered around. The jagged rocks were covered with colorful gems and crystals, and there were also many colorful corals. In the mountains and forests further away, there were towering ancient trees thousands of feet tall, as well as mushrooms and strange plants the size of houses. All kinds of herbs and fruit trees were full of colorful and fragrant divine fruits. There were also countless birds and beasts flying in flocks across the sky and the forest, roaming freely. Compared to the dilapidated Lin family cave abode, this paradise had more than 100 times more divine power and resources. Even Chao Qingyu's cave abode could not be compared to this. Obviously, this was the territory of the Rakshasa cave. The Grand Tutor Luosie led the Imperial Army and Lin Shui across the sky, flying toward the peak of the mountains. At the peak of the mountains thousands of miles away, many magnificent palaces and buildings could be vaguely seen, shining under the bright sun. Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu followed unhurriedly, hiding in the dark to monitor Luosie's every move. When Lin Shui's life was not in danger, Ji Tianqing chose to wait and see, to find out the truth and the cause of the matter. But if Lin Shui's life was in danger, he would decisively rescue her. Soon Luosie and the Imperial Army landed on the highest peak of the mountain. There was a piece of flat land with a radius of 100 miles on the mountain peak, where dozens of majestic but quaint divine palaces and tall buildings were built. The style of those palaces and buildings was very similar to the barbarians of the ancient times, filled with a strange and rough aura. As soon as Luosie and the others landed on the square, many Rakshasa people surrounded them. The Rakshasa people's bodies and appearances were different from the ordinary Protoss. Their hair was mostly purple or dark red. Their facial features were more sunken and three-dimensional, and their pupils were purple or blue. Even their attire was mostly based on long skirts, leather boots, and veils. They were full of exotic charm. The citizens of the Rakshasa race were very curious about these foreign races, and were sizing them up without blinking. A few patrolling guards recognized Luosie, and hurriedly shouted and greeted him happily. "Third Elder, why are you back?" Third elder, we haven't seen each other for a few hundred years. Why did you bring foreign races back this time? Luoxia's face was filled with excitement and anticipation. He pointed at Lin Shui and said proudly, I've made a great contribution this time, and I'll definitely save the fate of my race. Just wait to drink my celebratory wine. I won't waste any more time with you. Where's the clan leader? I have an important matter to discuss with the clan leader. The patrolling guards were all shocked by Luoxia's words. They looked expectant and puzzled, sizing up Lin Shui carefully. One of them reacted quickly and hurriedly led the way for Luoxia, leading him to a tall building in the depths of the palace. The clan leader is not in the meeting hall. He's been busy with something in the sacred blood tower recently. Third elder, let me take you there. Luoxia smiled proudly when he heard this. He muttered to himself, I sent a message to the clan leader half a month ago to report the situation. It seems that the clan leader trusts me a lot. He opened the sacred blood tower in advance without confirming Lin Shui's identity. I've made a great contribution this time, and the clan leader thinks even more highly of me. He'll definitely reward me handsomely. Luoxia led the many imperial guards across the square with anticipation and flew toward the dark brown tall building not far away. It was a 3-story building that was more than 1,000 feet tall. It looked like its original form of a pagoda. However, the walls around the building were engraved with tens of thousands of Rakshasa words and symbols, which looked strange and mysterious. Normally, the sacred blood tower was closed all year round. It would only be open for a period of time every 100 years when a new Rakshasa clansman wanted to awaken their bloodline. Now, the clan leader had opened the sacred blood tower in advance. It was obviously prepared for Lin Shui. Book House Reading Website. Chapter 33:11. Luoxia escorted Lin Shui to the sacred blood tower. Many disciples of the Rakshasa clan saw them flying across the sky in a majestic manner. Soon tens of thousands of people in dozens of palaces and residences were discussing the matter. Ji Tianqing and Chao Qingyu followed them secretly, hiding near the sacred blood tower to investigate the situation in the tower. They took the opportunity to get a general idea of the Rakshasa cave situation. The Rakshasa cave, which was 50,000 miles wide, had abundant divine power and cultivation resources. It was a true paradise. The Rakshasa tribe had tens of thousands of people, most of whom were celestial gods and true gods. There were hundreds of lesser divine lords, all of whom were the Rakshasa cave's patrol guards. There were more than 30 middle divine lords, most of whom were deacons, instructors, and other positions. There were only 15 upper divine lords, most of whom were elders, priests, and guardians of the Rakshasa tribe. The strongest ones were also merely a few peak divine lords. There were no divine king powerhouses. However, this was to be expected. Under normal circumstances, there would not be more than 3 divine kings in any region. Once a tribe or force had a divine king expert, it would be one of the top forces in the entire region. However, with the Rakshasa tribe's current force, they could only be ranked in the top 10 in the Yunyang region, not even the top 5. At this moment, Luoxia and the others arrived at the sacred blood tower's door. 4 imperial guard marshals and 32 imperial guard captains waited outside the door. Luoxia personally escorted Lin Shui over the door and into the sacred blood tower. The first floor was a spacious hall, dimly lit and surrounded by many Rakshasa statues. There were already 3 Rakshasa powerhouses standing in the middle of the hall. The leader was a tall and muscular middle-aged woman, wearing a fiery red dress and a dark golden cape. She wore a 2-foot-tall crown on her head. The crown's design was strange and complicated, with gold and jade inlaid in the middle, 2 long and narrow devil horns extending from both sides, and 4 black wings extending from the back. Looking at her attire, one could tell that she was the Rakshasa tribe's leader. The 2 Rakshasa powerhouses standing behind her were tall and burly middle-aged men. Both of them were dressed in different attire. Ji Tianqing guessed that they should be the priests and guardians of the Rakshasa tribe. Luoxia escorted Lin Shui into the hall and bowed with a smile, saying, Luoxia greets the tribe leader, high priest, and great guardian. The tribe leader, high priest, and great guardian had long received news that Luoxia had captured Shazi's daughter and was about to bring her back to the Rakshasa cave. At this moment, seeing Luoxia return, the three of them revealed gratified smiles and nodded at him. The second floor was a dark space. In the icy darkness there was a purple altar with a radius of 10,000 feet. No one knew how many precious materials were used to build this ancient altar. It was one of the Rakshasa tribe's heritage treasures. At this time the altar was already open, shining with a dazzling purple divine light. There was a blood pool at the top of the altar. It was 100 feet wide and bottomless. It was filled with dark red blood water that was boiling and surging. The entire dark space was filled with the pungent smell of blood, and filled with dark red blood light. There was a protector and 5 elders surrounding the altar, continuously casting spells. The Rakshasa tribe leader and the others came to the altar. After observing for a while and seeing that the altar was operating normally and its power was stable, he ordered the Great Guardian, "Send her in." The Great Guardian acknowledged the order and hurriedly untied the bronze chains that bound Lin Shui. He formed a spell with both hands and released dark red bloodlight that wrapped Lin Shui like a cocoon. Under his control, Lin Shui slowly flew to the top of the altar and sank into the boiling blood pool. Seeing that she was about to fall into the blood pool, Lin Shui was shocked and anxious. She struggled with all her might and roared angrily, "Let me go. I'm not a Rakshasa, and I don't want to be refined. I'd rather kill myself than let you have your way." Lin Shui's godhead was controlled and could not self-destruct. However, she shut off all her senses and allowed the boiling blood pool to invade her body. Soon her body was charred black. Seeing this, the Rakshasa tribe leader frowned. Chapter 33:12. The power of the blood pool was very mysterious and eerie. Shui Lin's clothes and hair were not damaged at all. However, her body of flesh and blood was rapidly burning in the blood pool. Both her hands and feet were burned into charcoal. The Rakshasa clan leader, Great Guardian and High Priest all cried out in worry. They did not expect Shui Lin to be so stubborn. She was not afraid of pain and death at all. She actually sealed her senses and refused to cooperate with the blood pool. This was troublesome. If this continued, Shui Lin's body would be burned to ashes. She would die on the spot and turn into ashes. The Rakshasas' plan naturally failed. All their previous efforts would be wasted. The clan leader, Great Guardian and High Priest were all anxious. They hurriedly scolded Shui Lin, ordering her to cooperate with the blood pool. But she turned a deaf ear. She would rather endure the burning pain. Her will was very firm. Third Elder Luoxia was also very anxious. He hurriedly waved his hands and cast spells. His hands formed a seal to activate the seal in Shui Lin's godhead. "Shui Lin, you better be smart and cooperate with the blood pool. Only then can you avoid death. Otherwise, I'll activate the seal right now and destroy your godhead. You'll die on the spot." Luoxia shouted coldly with a chilling expression. The Rakshasa clan leader, High Priest and Great Guardian heard this. They all frowned, finding it absurd and strange. Was the third elder mad? Or did he lose his composure in a panic and become muddle-headed? What was the use of threatening Shui Lin like this? As expected, Shui Lin, who had been silent with her eyes closed, actually opened her eyes. She looked at Luoxia with disdain and sneered. "What a joke. I don't want to live anymore. Why would I be afraid of your threats? Come on, activate the seal now and destroy my body and soul." "That's great. If I die, you won't get anything. End it all." Luoxia's expression froze. He only came back to his senses now. He felt so embarrassed that he could not show his face. The seal planted in Shui Lin's godhead was his last resort. Now that Shui Lin wanted to die, he could not threaten Shui Lin and was helpless. The High Priest was more decisive. He ordered the Great Guardian and elders to stop casting spells. At the same time, he waved his hand and released a dazzling golden light that enveloped Shui Lin in the blood pool. Shua! The boiling blood gradually calmed down. Shui Lin was also wrapped in the golden light. She was lifted out of the blood pool and floated in the air. She was temporarily out of danger, but her body was already damaged. It was a tragic sight. More than half of his arms and legs had disappeared, and black ashes were falling down. However, she endured the pain and didn't make a single sound. The clan leader, High Priest, and the others saw Shui Lin's determination and understood that they could not force this matter. Therefore, the clan leader looked at Shui Lin sternly and asked, Shui Lin, you should know that we have no ill intentions towards you and we don't want to hurt you. As long as you cooperate well, you will be able to activate your powerful bloodline through the refinement of the fiendish blood altar. At that time, your strength will multiply, and you will have a higher chance of breaking through to the Divine King realm. I will also confer you the title of Saintess of my clan, and you will enjoy a transcendent status and treatment. Before the clan leader could finish, Shui Lin said indifferently, I've already said that I'm not from the Rakshasa clan and I don't want to be their saintess. I won't be used by you, so give up. Seeing her stubbornness, the clan leader, high priest, and the others all frowned, thinking of a countermeasure. The clan leader also said firmly, Shui Lin, you should know that I am determined to succeed in this matter. Even if you don't agree and cooperate now, I will not give up, and I will not let you go. Even if another 10 years or 100 years pass, I will still have a way to make you agree. You are destined to face reality. Hearing this, Shui Lin fell silent. After hesitating for a moment, she said in a low voice, if you want me to cooperate, that's fine, unless you tell me my mother's background and experience, as well as all related information. Also, you must guarantee that every word you say is true, without any falsehood or fabrication. Seeing that Shui Lin finally relented, the clan leader, high priest, and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. Although Shui Lin's request was a little too much, this was a turning point and a breakthrough, and they saw the hope of reconciliation. The clan leader said calmly, I am the clan leader of the Rakshasa race, with a high position and authority. Every word I say is true, without any fabrication. I don't believe you. Shui Lin said coldly, unless you swear on the spot. The clan leader frowned fiercely, his expression terrible. The high priest, protector, and the others were also furious, glaring at Shui Lin sharply. Third elder Luoxia was even more furious, shouting at Shui Lin, don't push your luck, Lin Shui. How noble is the clan leader? How can you? However, before Luoxia could finish, the Rakshasa clan leader said solemnly, I have a clear conscience and am upright. Why should I be afraid of swearing in public? Listen carefully, Shui Lin. What I am about to say to you, I swear on my Godhead and life that there is no falsehood or fabrication. If there are any lies or fabrications, may I bear the wrath of the heavens and be reduced to ashes. Since the Rakshasa clan leader had already sworn, the others could not say anything else. Shui Lin's anger subsided as she listened quietly. Silence was restored around the altar. The Rakshasa clan leader said in a serious tone, more than 3,000 years ago, there were 4 powerful tribes in the Yunyang region. All of them had noble bloodlines that had been passed down since the ancient times. Their people were talented and filled with talents. Our Rakshasa clan is one of the 4 primordial clans, and we are one of the strongest clans. It was then that Sha Yinzi was born. She was different from the rest of the tribe. She caused a phenomenon when she was born. When she was very young, she displayed extraordinary talent and comprehension, far more outstanding than the rest of the tribe. When she became an adult, she entered the sacred blood tower to be refined by the demonic blood altar, and successfully activated her bloodline. It was then that we realized that her bloodline was the purest, even showing signs of atavism. With such a pure and flawless Rakshasa bloodline, as long as she was nurtured and taught, there was a 90% chance of her breaking through to the Divine King realm. Therefore, after a discussion with the elders and priests of the tribe, we unanimously decided to confer Sha Yinzi the title of Saintess. You must know that our tribe doesn't have a Saintess every generation. It usually takes thousands of years for a girl with exceptional talent to appear and be qualified to be a Saintess. When she heard this, Shui Lin frowned and asked doubtfully, what if the person with exceptional talent and pure bloodline is a man? The Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, and great guardian were stunned for a moment before they smiled playfully. You're overthinking this. The bloodline of the Rakshasa clan is rather unique. The bloodline inherited by the men is incomplete. Only the women can inherit the purest bloodline. Therefore, the men of our tribe have the surname Luo while the women have the right to have the surname Sha. Translator. Timothy_editor. Globeglotter. Chapter 33:13. The Rakshasa clan leader's words sounded preposterous to outsiders. The high priest was afraid that Lin Shui would not believe him, so he quickly explained. The Rakshasa tribe is different from the other tribes. Our tribe values women, and there are differences in the surnames of men and women. After all, only women can inherit the purest bloodline, the most quintessential skills, and cultivate the true form of the Rakshasa. In the tens of thousands of years since the beginning of time, there have been 12 divine kings in our tribe, but all of them were women. Moreover, these divine kings were just like Cha Yanzi. They had displayed extraordinary talents at a young age. Before they broke through to the divine king level, they were all conferred as the tribe's saintess. After listening to the high priest's explanation, Lin Shui had a deeper understanding of this. The Rakshasa leader continued. After Cha Yanzi was conferred as the saintess, she received our careful guidance. We poured a lot of effort and cultivation resources into her. It is no exaggeration to say that she is the hope of our tribe's rise, and also carries our tribe's honor and pride. After 1,000 years, Cha Yanzi grew at a shocking speed and became our tribe's youngest upper-level divine lord. However, after she reached the 7th level of the divine lord realm, the improvement of her ability slowed down significantly. Even her comprehension and aptitude seemed to have decreased. We were very anxious about this and tried all kinds of methods, but it was to no avail. At this time, the Crimson Moon tribe took the initiative to express goodwill to our tribe, sending a diplomatic group to propose marriage. Among the 4 ancient tribes in the Yunyang region, the Crimson Moon tribe was the strongest and had the strongest foundation. The Crimson Moon tribe's young lord was also a genius that was hard to come by in 1,000 years. Not only was she extraordinary, but her talent was also outstanding. In addition, the Crimson Moon tribe's young lord, Cha Yanzi, had a good impression of her. After many discussions, we decided to agree to the marriage between the 2 tribes. After all, the marriage between Cha Yanzi and the Crimson Moon tribe's young lord would complement each other's bloodline, and both of them would have a higher chance of breaking through to the divine king level. Furthermore, the Crimson Moon tribe and our tribe have formed an alliance, and will help our tribe to reach a higher level. When she heard this, Lin Shui interrupted and asked, when you made this decision, did you ask for Cha Yanzi's opinion? With her consent? The Rakshasa clan leader was stunned. His expression was unnatural. He nodded and said, I admit that we made this decision out of selfishness. We didn't ask for Cha Yanzi's opinion. However, we are doing this for the sake of the Rakshasa tribe and her. It will only benefit her. Ha ha ha. Shui Lin suddenly sneered disdainfully. I hate people like you the most in my life. You keep saying that you are considerate of others, but in fact you don't care about others' feelings at all. All you do is hurt others, and you don't even know it. The Rakshasa clan leader's expression turned even uglier, but he could not refute him. The high priest, however, kept a straight face and said in a serious tone, Cha Yanzi is our saintess. In order to raise her, we have poured countless cultivation resources and thousands of years of effort into her. For the prosperity of our race, she should make concessions and compromises. This is to repay the kindness of our race for raising and teaching her. Shui Lin's expression became even more disdainful. She scoffed, just because the Rakshasa raised her, they can use her as a bargaining chip and a tool to strengthen the Rakshasa tribe? If you think so, then she would rather not have your nurturing and teaching. The high priest was filled with resentment. He scolded angrily, You are ungrateful. You have forgotten your ancestors. You are indeed the same as your mother, an ingrate carved from the same mold. Before he could finish, the Rakshasa clan leader glared at him and cut him off. The high priest could only keep his mouth shut, not saying anything more with a dark expression. The Rakshasa clan leader continued, Back then, the Crimson Moon clan leader brought the young lord and a diplomatic group to the Rakshasa cave to discuss the marriage. We accepted the Crimson Moon clan's betrothal gift and agreed to the marriage. Both races were happy. Not long after, the news of the marriage between the 2 races spread throughout the Yunyang region. Cha Yanzi also became the fiancé of the Crimson Moon clan's young lord. We valued this marriage very much. All the major races and forces in the Yunyang region expressed their envy and blessings as well. Everything went smoothly. Cha Yanzi did not resist or refuse. However, in the short span of a decade after that, Sha Yinzi's temperament changed drastically. She left the Rakshasa cave for a few years and somehow got to know Lin Wufa. The Rakshasa clan leader paused for a moment before he continued. Filled with resentment, later, we found out that Lin Wufa was the abandoned disciple of the Dharma sect. He betrayed his master and ancestors, killed his master and betrayed the sect. I don't know what methods and schemes that despicable fellow used to win Sha Yinzi's favor. Both of them developed feelings for each other and had an ill-fated relationship. As a result, Sha Yinzi ignored our clan's nurturing and teaching, as well as her marriage with the Crimson Moon clan's young lord. She betrayed the Rakshasa clan and left the Rakshasa cave to follow Lin Wufa. As he spoke, the Rakshasa clan leader was still filled with resentment, his anger still lingering. The high priest continued, Sha Yinzi betrayed our clan and went back on her marriage, leaving the Yunyang region with Lin Wufa. This could be kept a secret for a while, but the Crimson Moon clan eventually found out. When the news spread, our clan and the Crimson Moon clan became laughingstocks, mocked by the entire Yunyang region. Especially the Crimson Moon clan. They were humiliated and disgraced. The alliance between the two clans was broken, and the Crimson Moon clan became enemies with us. The Crimson Moon clan's leader and young lord personally led the clan's experts to the Rakshasa cave to demand an explanation. At that time we had a conflict with the Crimson Moon clan. The Crimson Moon clan caused a huge ruckus in the Rakshasa cave, causing our clan to suffer a great loss. In that disaster, tens of thousands of innocent clan members were killed, countless houses, palaces, and treasure vaults were destroyed, and the number of experts was reduced by half. After that, the Crimson Moon clan used all their resources to destroy our clan's properties and forces. All in all, that conflict caused our clan to suffer a great loss. Our clan had also fallen from the second strongest force among the 4 clans to the last place, unable to recover from the setback. Among the top 10 forces of the Yunyang region, our clan had also fallen from the top 5 to the last place. Tell me, do you think Sha Yinzi and Lin Wufa deserved to die? Lin Shui did not think much of it and sneered. You brought this upon yourselves. If you had asked for Sha Yinzi's opinion when you decided to let her marry the young lord of the Crimson Moon clan when you made her the saint, how could this have happened? You ignored Sha Yinzi's thoughts and feelings and treated her as a tool for profit, then don't blame her for leaving. Of course, the high priest did not agree with this statement and was about to retort. However, the Rakshasa clan's leader gave him a look, so he could only suppress his anger and keep quiet. Lin Shui looked at the two of them and asked with a cold smile, back then you forced my mother like this and caused her misfortune. Now you want to use the same method to force me to help the Rakshasa clan? Chapter 33:14. Faced with Lin Shui's questioning, the Rakshasa leader, the high priest, and the great guardian were not happy. But the Rakshasa leader suppressed his anger and explained patiently. After all, she was the one asking for help. Lin Shui was not even afraid of death, so she would not be threatened. She could only try to persuade Lin Shui patiently. Lin Shui, we were indeed careless about Sha Yinzi. But more importantly, it was because of her and Lin Wufa. Although we did not ask for her opinion, she should understand our difficulties. How could she betray our tribe? Furthermore, that Lin Wufa was a traitor who had betrayed his master and destroyed his ancestors. He used flowery words to deceive the innocent Sha Yinzi, and instigated him to betray our tribe. This led to a series of tragedies. If we are talking about sins, Lin Wufa's sins are the most serious. Lin Shui still did not believe him. She sneered, This is just your side of the story. Who knows the truth? At least I believe that my father is not a traitor. There must be a misunderstanding. The Rakshasa leader frowned and waved his hand. I don't want to talk about your father and the Dharma sect. This is something everyone knows. There is nothing to argue about. Let's talk about your mother. She made a huge mistake and caused our tribe to suffer a great loss. She is a sinner of our tribe. But she is dead. She can't make up for our loss. But you are still alive and have the blood of the Rakshasa tribe. As the saying goes, the son pays for the father's debt. As Sha Yinzi's daughter, you should pay for her sins and make up for our clan's heavy losses. This is the right thing to do. You shouldn't reject it. Also, if you become the saintess of our tribe, it will only bring you benefits. The Rakshasa leader tried his best to persuade her, but Lin Shui could not take it anymore. She sneered. You think that my mother made a huge mistake and caused the Rakshasa tribe to suffer a great loss, so you want me to replace my mother and make up for the loss? Now that things have come to this, you are still not repentant and do not realize your own mistakes? If it weren't for your selfishness and disregard for the feelings and opinions of others, how could this have happened? My mother is a living person. She has her own thoughts and feelings. She's not a tool for you to profit from, and neither am I. Pausing for a moment, she put on a disdainful look and said mockingly, You are forcing me to be the holy maiden because you want me to marry the Red Moon young master to mend your relationship with the Red Moon clan? Ha ha ha. I've never seen such despicable people like you. The Scarlet Moon clan has caused you to become like this. Not only do you not blame them, you even pushed all the blame onto my parents. In the end, he still wanted to send a holy maiden to the Crimson Moon clan to gain their forgiveness. If that's really the case, then all of you are truly despicable to the bone. Being mocked by Shui Lin like this, the Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, great guardian, and many elders were all furious, their faces ferocious. But the angrier they were, the happier Shui Lin was. However, they couldn't do anything to Shui Lin. The Rakshasa clan leader suppressed his anger and said in a deep voice, Lin Shui, you're underestimating the Rakshasa tribe. Even if we're weak now, there's no way we'll curry favor with the Red Moon clan. We'll forever remember the harm that the Red Moon clan has done to our tribe. In the future, we'll pay them back tenfold. But you're right about one thing. We want you to be the new holy maiden because we want to rely on a stronger force. We've found a target for you that's definitely beyond your imagination. If you can become the holy maiden and marry that big shot, it'll be the glory of your life. It'll be the blessing of 3 lifetimes. Hearing that, Shui Lin was even more enraged. She scoffed coldly, What a joke! To me, there's no one in this world that I can pursue so lowly. The glory of my life? The blessing of 3 lifetimes? That's what you think because you're too despicable. Being scolded like that, the Rakshasa clan leader's face was as cold as ice. The high priest, great guardian, and a few elders almost went berserk. However, in order to complete the plan, the Rakshasa clan leader chose to endure. She took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. She said in a deep voice, Lin Shui, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're too arrogant. Do you know who the fiancé that we've found for you is? It's the region lord of Yunyang region. He's the most outstanding divine king in Yunyang region in the past 30,000 years. He's young and promising, handsome and powerful. He's only 8,000 years old and he's already a divine king. The entire Yunyang region is his territory. He's the most honorable overlord. If you can marry him, you'll be envied by so many people. Don't take it for granted. This is such a great blessing that others can't even ask for it in 8 lifetimes. Hearing this, Lin Shui was stunned. She did not expect the Rakshasa clan to rely on Region Lord Yunyang in order to revive and rise. However, there was nothing wrong with the Rakshasa clan doing so. In the entire Yunyang region, the region lord's position and ability were the highest, and his force was the strongest. If the Rakshasa clan could really rely on region lord Yunyang, they would be able to receive his support and their force would rise and grow rapidly. They would no longer be afraid of the Crimson Lunar clan. When the Rakshasa clan's force was strong enough, they could even take revenge on the Crimson Lunar clan. However, all of this had nothing to do with Lin Shui. No matter how young, handsome, or powerful Region Lord Yunyang was, it had nothing to do with her. Most importantly, in her heart, there was only one person who was the strongest, the most talented, and the most handsome man. And that person was someone that no young genius could compare to. Even Region Lord Yunyang was no exception. Thinking of this, the person's silhouette appeared in Lin Shui's mind again. White robe, black hair, handsome and powerful, wielding a sword to rule the world, carefree and at ease. His silhouette seemed to have walked out from the darkness, bringing with it endless light and warmth. He was sacred and mysterious. Lin Shui was immersed in her memories, a little absent-minded. After a long time, the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest thought that she had acquiesced to the matter when they saw her remaining silent for a long time. The Rakshasa clan leader said with a smile, "How is it? Are you moved? You should understand now that we're doing this for your own good. You have to cooperate with us obediently and accept the demonic blood altar's refinement to activate the Rakshasa bloodline. As long as your talent is as outstanding as your mother's, we'll make you our tribe's holy maiden. Then, I'll contact Regent Lord Yunyang and discuss the marriage with him. As long as the marriage agreement is fulfilled, you'll become the happiest and most envied woman in the region of Yunyang. How's that? Aren't you excited just thinking about it?" Lin Shue's thoughts were interrupted as she ended her memories. She looked at the Rakshasa clan leader coldly and sneered. "If you're so excited, why don't you marry Regent Lord Yunyang yourself? I'll say it again. You want me to be the holy maiden? Impossible. I'd rather die than let your wish come true." Chapter 33:15. In the eyes of the Rakshasa leader, high priest, and the rest, Yun Sun was the most outstanding person in the world. Region leader Yunyang was already the most outstanding man in the entire Yunyang region. He was also the perfect marriage partner with the highest status and the most powerful force they could think of. Even so, Lin Shue still refused resolutely. This was completely out of everyone's expectations and made them feel troubled. The patriarch, the great priest, the great guardian, and the others exchanged glances with one another. They felt helpless and began to discuss among themselves. What do we do now? That B*Tsh is stubborn. She's determined to die. She's just as heartless and ungrateful as her mother. We've thought so much for her, we've planned so well. It's meaningless to say this now. Since the soft approach doesn't work on her, we can only use force. Yes, I agree with the leader's decision. We must use force on her. So what if she doesn't agree? Throw her into the altar and forcefully refine her. If she wants to die, then let her die. We can't spoil her. If she wants to die, we'll fulfill her wish. After a while, the leader, high priest, and the rest made up their minds. The leader stared at Lin Shue coldly and said in an icy tone, "Lin Shue, you've disappointed us by being so stubborn. Whether you're willing or not, whether you admit it or not, you're still a disciple of the Rakshasa tribe. You must obey the tribe's orders. We're doing this for your own good. If you really want to die, we won't stop you." This was the leader's ultimatum. After she finished speaking, the High Guardian and a few elders worked together to activate the altar, causing the blood pool to boil again. The high priest sent out a beam of divine light that enveloped Lin Shue as she slowly fell into the bubbling blood pool. Lin Shue's divine power and soul were still sealed, so she could not resist or avoid it. She could only sink into the blood pool bit by bit. However, she was determined. She sealed her senses and senses again, refusing to be refined by the blood pool and allowing her body to be burned into ashes. Tsk. Her limbs were the first to be burned, turning as black as charcoal. The leader, high priest, and the rest stared coldly at Lin Shue, watching her sink into the blood pool bit by bit, her body turning into charcoal. They were also very hesitant in their hearts. They also hoped that Xue Lin would repent and accept the blood pool's sacrificial refining. Even though they knew that this hope was very slim, they still did not give up. Of course, if Lin Shue insisted on seeking death, they would not stop or persuade her. In short, Xue Lin's life and death were in her own hands. This time they had truly hardened their hearts. Soon Xue Lin stopped struggling. She fell silent and closed her eyes. She had already accepted her fate. Just as death was about to arrive, many memories flooded her mind, and a lot of messy thoughts popped up. Being able to figure out the background and experiences of my parents before I die can be considered as a form of comfort. It's a pity that I'm in jail now and can't avenge my parents. I'm going to die in the hands of the Rakshasa clan. Tianxing, oh Tianxing, I used to think that you were despicable and narcissistic. Wasn't he just handsome and talented? What's so great about that? Can't you be a little more humble? She always felt that if other girls took a few more glances at her, they would want to marry her. However, even if you have so many flaws, you're still annoying sometimes. But now that I think about it, you still have many redeeming qualities. You have many good points. I admit that you already live in my heart. Other than you, no other young talents can enter my eyes. Even if I can't express my feelings, I can only follow you and be your friend and partner. I'm also willing to stay by your side forever. You're so proud and narcissistic. You definitely won't understand my feelings. If I can live, I definitely won't deny and cover up anymore. Unfortunately, a miracle won't happen. I'm about to turn into ashes and leave this world. If I can see you one last time before I die, I won't have any regrets. All sorts of complicated thoughts flashed through Xuelin's mind. In the end, the images in her mind stopped. It was a tall and handsome figure in a dark void. His entire body emitted a sacred golden light as he slowly walked out from the depths of the darkness. Dressed in a white robe and wielding a sword, he was free and unrestrained. His entire body emitted a noble and confident aura. On his handsome and resolute face, there was always a gentle smile. It made people feel as if they were bathed in the spring breeze. All their worries had been eliminated. Xuelin stared at the figure in a daze. Seeing him walk closer and closer, her heart was very calm and peaceful. Her entire mind was immersed in the fantasy. She forgot the pain of her body being burned and also forgot about the impending death. She decided to immerse herself in these beautiful memories and calmly accept the arrival of death. But this time, a steady and powerful voice of a young man suddenly sounded in her mind. Xuelin, are you crazy? Wake up, don't kill yourself. The voice that suddenly sounded was so familiar. The tone was somewhat anxious and contained deep concern. Xuelin was startled. Still immersed in the beautiful memories, she stared at the figure in a daze. I really am possessed. I'm so confused by him that I'm actually hallucinating? If this is really what he said, how good would that be? At least it proves that he still cares about me. He doesn't want me to die. Unfortunately, this is just my wishful thinking. Right now, he should still be in seclusion in the divine ship. He's long gone. These thoughts flashed through Xuelin's mind. She laughed bitterly at herself. However, that familiar voice sounded in her mind again. Xuelin, don't be in a daze anymore. If this goes on, you'll really die. Chao Qingyu and I followed you into the demon cave. We're now hiding in the sacred blood tower. If you don't wake up, I'll have no choice but to kill and save you. This time, Xuelin's body clearly stiffened. She was completely stunned. If the previous sentence was a hallucination, it definitely wasn't this time. Even though she was extremely shocked and couldn't believe it was real. However, reason told her that it was Ji Tianqing's voice transmission. Tianqing? Tianqing, is it really you? Xuelin finally woke up. Opening her eyes, she turned her head and looked at the darkness around the altar. She didn't make a sound. She only shouted in her heart. After all, she didn't want the demon tribe leader and the others to see through her. Miraculously, Ji Tianqing actually heard her thoughts. Of course, it was also possible that he guessed her thoughts from her expression and reaction. Immediately after, Ji Tianqing transmitted his voice to her again. Xuelin, although you left secretly and didn't tell me, 3 days passed. However, when the 3 days were up, Chao Qingyu told me the truth. We investigated and followed you all the way here. Don't worry. With us here, nothing will happen to you. What you need to do now is accept the blood pool's sacrificial ceremony calmly. Chapter 33:16. Hearing Ji Tianqing's voice again, Lin Shue's anxious heart immediately calmed down. Ji Tianqing had this kind of magic power. No matter how dangerous the situation was, as long as he was there, he could make people feel at ease and at ease. Lin Shui came back to her senses and became clear-headed. Ji Tianqing's words made her feel warm and at ease, and she saw the hope of survival. She didn't want to die anymore. She just wanted to live and leave the sacred blood tower as soon as possible to return to Ji Tianqing. However, she still had to listen to Ji Tianqing's words. She quickly opened her 5 senses and 6 senses, no longer letting the blood pool burn her body. She began to accept the blood pool's sacrificial refining, guiding the power of the blood pool to repair her damaged body, bones, and blood vessels. However, she still had some doubts and thought to herself, why should I accept the blood pool's sacrificial refining? Wouldn't that be fulfilling the Rakshasa's wish? Ji Tianqing's voice sounded again and he explained to her, don't worry. With me around, the Rakshasa won't get what they want. With your current talent, your potential is about to be exhausted. You can only reach the peak of the divine monarch realm at most in this life, and you can't go any further. There's no hope of breaking through to the divine king realm. Therefore, only by accepting the blood pool's sacrificial refining and activating the Rakshasa bloodline can you have hope of breaking through to the divine king realm. Only when you break through to the divine king realm can you do whatever you want and not be afraid of anyone. By then, not only can you find out the truth of what happened back then and clear your father's name, but you can also avenge your parents. Don't you want to avenge them? After they died, their tombs were destroyed and their remains turned into ashes. Don't you want to avenge such a deep blood feud? These words immediately aroused Lin Shue's anger and killing intent, and her heart was filled with hatred. She suddenly regretted and nodded, thinking to herself, yes, if I want to die, I'll be too weak and useless. I'll only make my loved ones suffer and my enemies happy. I have to become stronger, so that I can uncover the truth and avenge my parents. But, Tianxing, how do you know all this? Tianxing explained indifferently. I captured Mengyu, your childhood sweetheart, and forced him to confess everything. Furthermore, I killed him with my own hands to avenge you. Xuelin was stunned for a moment. Her heart was filled with warmth. She was very touched. Tianxing, thank you. Mengyu betrayed his friends for glory, despicable and shameless. I will definitely not let him off. I didn't expect you to help me take revenge. Thank you so much. Tianxing said in a mocking tone, you didn't talk to me like this in the past. Why are you so gentle and polite now? Could it be that, when you decided to accept death, your heart was still thinking of me? Humph. Don't be narcissistic, damn it. Xuelin's cheek suddenly turned red, and she secretly spat. I hate you so much, how could I miss you? Tianxing breathed a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. I'm relieved that you can think like that. You! Xuelin was even more furious. She cursed in her heart. Damn you, can't you be more humble? What do you mean? Are you afraid that I'll like you and cling to you? Tianxing answered honestly. Xuelin was even more embarrassed and angry. She was so angry that she wanted to stomp her feet. Don't be so smug. You're full of flaws, arrogant, narcissistic and arrogant. How could I like you? Tianxing quickly persuaded. If you don't like me, then why are you so agitated? Calm down, the Rakshasa people have already noticed something strange. Xuelin quickly suppressed her anger and calmed down. She looked around and saw the Rakshasa tribe leader, high priest, and the rest. They were all looking at her with their eyes wide open in surprise, their faces full of confusion. Everyone was observing her and whispering to each other. Didn't that bitch want to die? Why did she change her mind all of a sudden? Ha ha ha. Don't be fooled by her pretense of being chaste and having a strong will. Actually, people are all afraid of death. How could they accept death so calmly? That's right. No matter how strong her will is, in the face of death, she'll choose to compromise. Being afraid of death is one of the reasons, but the most important reason is that she's thought it through. After all, we've planned such a beautiful future for her. How could she not be moved? That's great. Our plan can be carried out smoothly. Tisk. If we knew that she was so afraid of death, we wouldn't have wasted so much time talking to her. We could have just used force. The tribe leader, high priest, and great guardian were all sneering, their words full of disdain and pride. Of course, their hearts that were hanging in the air were now at ease. Everyone chose to ignore Xuelin's strange reaction of looking around blankly and changing expression. After all, everyone knew that Xuelin's change from seeking death to dragging out an ignoble existence must have been a huge psychological change and emotional fluctuation. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. Xuelin accepted the blood pool's refinement calmly and cooperated fully with the operation of the malevolent blood altar. Indeed, there were very obvious effects. Her charred limbs were gradually restored to their original state. Then the power of the blood pool seeped into her body and spread to her limbs, bones, blood vessels, and bone marrow, transforming her body rapidly. Her divine blood was also being refined and strengthened. It began to flow faster as a mysterious power surged within it. The Rakshasa tribe leader, high priest, and the others were completely relieved when they saw that. They could already tell that there was indeed tremendous potential hidden in Shui Lin's bloodline. Clearly, Shui Lin had inherited the bloodline of her mother, Xia Yanzi, as well as the legacy of the Rakshasa race. That was absolutely great news for the Rakshasa race. Although Shui Lin started to cooperate with the blood pool's refinement, she still had to put on a show. At the very least, the Rakshasa tribe leader and the others had to brainwash her and change her mind and will to make her loyal to the Rakshasa race. The Rakshasa tribe leader looked down at Shui Lin in the blood pool with a gentle smile and said in a comforting tone, "Shui Lin, I'm very gratified that you've realized your mistake and turned back. I really don't wish to see the sins your mother committed back then repeat themselves on you. Of course, we'll learn from our mistakes and won't treat you like how we treated your mother back then. As long as you successfully activate your bloodline and be our race's saint, we'll nurture you with all our might. By then, not only will your status skyrocket when you marry region leader Yun Yang, the Rakshasa race will rise again as well. This way, it's not only atoning for your mother's sins, it's also your contribution to our race." The Rakshasa tribe leader tried his best to persuade Shui Lin, instilling the concept of atoning, contributing, and changing her fate. His goal was to make Shui Lin loyal to the Rakshasa race and follow their arrangements willingly. Chapter 33:17. After the Rakshasa leader was done speaking, the high priest smiled kindly and persuaded Lin Shui. "Lin Shui, the demonic blood altar needs to operate for a month to continuously refine you. Only then can it fully activate your bloodline and strengthen your divine body. When your Rakshasa bloodline is fully awakened, your appearance and physique will change. You will be as beautiful as your mother when she was young. In addition, your innate talent will increase several times, and your ability will have a qualitative leap. Most importantly, you will have the qualification and hope to break through to the Divine King level. However, these are only the foundation. The key deciding factor is still our nurturing. When you're crowned as a saint, not only will we invest a large amount of cultivation resources, we'll also teach you hundreds of skills, nurturing you with all we have. During this period, we'll contact region leader Yun Yang and help you set up a marriage contract. When you're outstanding and strong enough, you and region leader Yun Yang will be married. By then, you'll be the dazzling and motherly region leader's wife. You'll be the most honorable woman in the entire region of Yun Yang." One had to admit that the Rakshasa leader and the high priest's words were very persuasive. If it were any other girl, she would have been motivated to the point of boiling with excitement, filled with longing and fantasizing. However, Lin Shui's emotions were calm. Her expression and gaze were indifferent, without much emotion. Even the words of the leader and the high priest were laughable in her ears. She had long made up her mind to leave the Rakshasa cave with Ji Tianxing once the month of refining was over. She did not have a good impression of the Rakshasa tribe. If they were stopped, she would not show mercy and Ji Tianxing would go on a killing spree. Next, the great guardian and a few elders took turns to guide and educate Lin Shui. Of course, they also taught Lin Shui the method of refining with the blood pool. The leader even undid Lin Shui's seal personally, releasing her soul and divine power. She had completely regained her freedom now, without any restraint. However, she had no intention of running away. She continued to follow the leader and the high priest's guidance, cultivating with the blood pool to activate her bloodline. Seeing her attitude, the patriarch and the high priest were very satisfied. 2 days later, seeing that her condition had stabilized and the effects of the sacrificial refining were obvious, the clan leader and high priest left. Only the head protector and a few elders remained, continuing to control the operation of the fiend blood altar. Shui Lin was also silent. She focused on refining her god body and activating her bloodline power. As for Ji Tianxing and Chao Qingyu, they were still hiding in the dark in the sacred blood tower. No one had discovered them. The two of them hid in the dark space on the 3rd floor of the sacred blood tower. Both of them had concealed their auras so that no one would discover them. While Shui Lin was sacrificial refining in the blood pool, the two of them had nothing to do and observed the layout of the 3rd floor. The Saint Blood Tower was an absolute forbidden area of the Rakshasa race. And it was also a treasure land that had been passed down for more than 30,000 years. The 1st floor was the main hall, The second floor was the Fiend Blood Altar, and the third floor was the Treasury. Between the second and third levels, there was a top-notch monarch-grade divine array seal. Only the clan leader and the grand priest could open it. Hundreds of statues stood in this dark space, and most of them were women. Each statue was different, and they all represented a Rakshasa powerhouse or ancestor. There was a secret compartment under each statue's feet, and some jade slips were stored inside. Each of the jade slips recorded a top divine skill of the Rakshasa race. Some of the secret compartments under the statues only had 2 or 3 jade slips. Some of the statues had dozens of jade slips under their feet. Chao Qingyu vaguely understood something, and said to Ji Tianqing telepathically, "Young master, there must be a deeper meaning to the layout of this place. These hundreds of statues are all top-notch Rakshasa powerhouses. The jade slips under their feet should be the divine arts and divine arts they created." Ji Tianqing nodded in agreement. Those statues should be the ancestors of the Rakshasa race. They are all divine king realm powerhouses, and they have created the most divine arts and divine arts. Those statues with fewer jade slips are mostly men. Not only are they weaker, but they are also more recent. Chao Qingyu thought for a while and suggested, "Young master, Ms. Lin needs to refine in the blood pool for a month. After her Rakshasa bloodline is activated, she needs to cultivate the divine arts and divine arts of the Rakshasa race to reach the divine king realm faster. But we don't have that much time. Let her stay in the Rakshasa cave and learn from the powerhouses of the Rakshasa race. What do you think? Can we?" Ji Tianqing understood what he meant, and said with a smile, take it all. Whether Lin Shui needs it or not, take it all. Don't leave a single piece for the Rakshasa race. All right. Chao Qingyu also revealed a teasing smirk and hurriedly nodded in agreement. Then he took the jade slips himself. He opened the secret compartments under the feet of each statue. He didn't look at how many jade slips there were, or what divine arts they recorded, and put them all into his interspatial ring. In just an hour, he had plundered every single jade slip at the feet of over 100 statues. He counted with his divine sense. There were more than 2,100 jade slips. In other words, there were more than 2,100 types of divine arts and divine arts. Chao Qingyu handed the interspatial ring to Ji Tianqing and said with a smile, "Young master, these 2,100 jade slips should cover all the Rakshasa race's divine arts. Even if Ms. Lin is talented, it will take her thousands of years to cultivate them all." Ji Tianqing nodded and said with a smile, "When the time comes, give them to Lin Shui and let her choose from them. She doesn't have to cultivate them all. I'm just thinking, when the Rakshasa race leader and high priest come here and find that the jade slips are gone, what will their expressions and reactions be?" Chao Qingyu grinned and said, "They will be so angry that they will vomit blood. They will even have thoughts of dying." Ji Tianqing cast a sidelong glance at him and said teasingly, "Qingyu, I noticed that you seem to be enjoying it. I really didn't expect that an honest person like you with thick eyebrows and big eyes would actually become evil too." Chao Qingyu was stunned for a moment. Scratching his head rather awkwardly, he said, "It's all young master's teachings. I'm just following suit." Ji Tianqing was immediately speechless and rolled his eyes at him. "Forget it, you continue to keep watch. There are still more than 20 days. I can't waste time and have to enter the divine pagoda to cultivate in seclusion. If there are any abnormal situations, you can contact me with voice transmission at any time." Finished talking, Ji Tianqing took out the 9 Heavens 10 Absolute Pagoda and tunneled into the distorted spacetime, going into seclusion to cultivate. He was currently peak 9th level Divine Lord and was not far from Divine King Realm. He had to make the best use of his time and cultivate diligently before he could break through to Divine King Realm as soon as possible. Chao Qingyu hurriedly put away the 9 Heavens 10 Absolute Pagoda and hid it on his body. Then he concealed his whereabouts and aura, hiding in a dark corner and continuing to monitor the situation of the evil blood altar. Chapter 33:18. In the warped space. Under the Bloodfire Sacred Tree, Ji Tianqing sat cross-legged on the ground and was currently circulating his skill to cultivate. His strength realm still remained at peak Divine Lord realm. He was only a step away from Divine King realm. However, that single step was like a heavenly moat. If there was no opportunity or epiphany, it was very hard to break through. In addition, Ji Tianqing had already cultivated all kinds of cultivation methods and divine abilities to perfection. Only the heaven-punishing divine art that he created was still in its infancy, at the stage of continuous exploration and demonstration. Of course, this divine art was also the highest grade among the cultivation methods that he grasped. It was the divine art that covered the most heaven and earth great Tao. Hence, after Ji Tianqing cultivated the other cultivation methods once, he focused on cultivating the heaven-punishing divine art. Currently, the heaven-punishing divine art was only cultivated to the second level. Moreover, it was only cultivated to the middle and late stages. It had yet to reach the realm of perfection. Ji Tianqing guessed that after he cultivated the second level of the heaven-punishing divine art to perfection, he should be able to break through to the Divine King realm. After all, he had the experience of breaking through to the Divine King realm in his previous life. Moreover, he cultivated to peak Divine King. Now that he was starting all over again, it was naturally 10 times easier than other Divine Kings. Swoosh! Swoosh! As Ji Tianqing revolved the heaven-punishing divine art over and over again, his body was shrouded in sacred golden light. It flickered continuously from bright to dark as if it was breathing. Every time the divine art revolved, his strength would also increase a little along with it. In the warp space, time passed by very quickly. 3 days, 5 days, half a month. Following the passage of time, Ji Tianqing's strength increased steadily. His divine Tao foundation also became more and more robust. A month later, his strength had doubled, and the current him was equivalent to 20 times the strength of an ordinary peak divine lord. After all, his own strength, foundation, and combat power were equivalent to 10 times of a divine lord of the same realm. Other divine lords doubling their strength became twice that of a peak divine lord, and his doubling was 20 times that of a peak divine lord. 2.5 months later, the heaven-punishing divine art cultivated to the late stage of the second level. He reached 30 times the strength of a peak divine lord. 4.5 months later, the second level of the heaven-punishing divine art was accomplished. He had 40 times the strength of a peak divine lord. To all divine lords, it was an unattainable and unimaginable realm. But for Ji Tianqing, this was still not his limit. He was still desperately cultivating and perfecting the second level of the cultivation technique. His strength was still steadily increasing. 7 months later, the second level of the heaven-punishing divine art was close to perfection. He had strengthened it by 50 times. 10 months later, Ji Tianqing's second layer of cultivation technique was perfected and supplemented. He had also cultivated it to perfection and strengthened it by 60 times. However, the further he progressed, the slower his strength would increase, and the longer the time it would take. However, he had yet to reach his limit and was still improving his strength. Of course, in order to increase the speed of his cultivation, he had tried to deduce the third level of the heaven-punishing divine skill. Unfortunately, the third level of the cultivation technique was at the God King realm. Only by breaking through to the God King realm would one be able to derive it and establish the foundation. Thus, Ji Tianqing patiently repeated the second level of the cultivation method. 10,000 times, 100,000 times, 1,000,000 times. His strength had also increased by 70 times, 80 times, 90 times. The situation was already very clear. His limit was 99 times of a peak divine lord. Only at that time could he rely on his heaven-defying foundation and accumulation, and step into the God King realm in one stroke. Chao Qingyu had been lurking in the sacred blood tower the whole time, keeping a close eye on the situation of the fiend blood altar. Fortunately, nothing unexpected happened in the 20 days either. The chief protector and several elders were very responsible, focusing on controlling the altar and activating Lin Shui's bloodline, not daring to slack off in the slightest. Lin Shui was also very cooperative, fully focused on cultivation from start to finish, accepting the blood pool's sacrificial refinement and strengthening. Presently, her bloodline was already successfully activated, but it was still in the stabilization and strengthening stage. Her strength also advanced by leaps and bounds, breaking through to level 9 Divine Lord realm. Furthermore, it was still improving continuously. At the same time, Her outer appearance was also quietly undergoing changes. Compared to the sacred blood tower's tranquility, inside Rakshasa Cave was very lively. Chao Qingyu had been secretly monitoring all along, and naturally grasped Rakshasa Cave's situation too. In these 20 days, to the Rakshasa clan's 10,000 clansmen, it was filled with pleasant surprises and anticipation. First, the news of Third Elder Luosie's meritorious deed of bringing back the previous saint's daughter had spread throughout the Rakshasa clan. The Rakshasa clansmen all knew that the previous saint, Sha Yanzi, was a peerless beauty, a rare talent that only appeared once every 10,000 years. She was the clansman who had the highest hope of breaking through to the Divine King realm. Unfortunately, Sha Yanzi was deceived by villains and led astray, causing the Rakshasa clan to suffer a great loss. She had also become a sinner of the Rakshasa clan, unable to be forgiven even until death. However, Sha Yanzi's daughter Lin Shui had inherited Sha Yanzi's talent and inheritance. Even if her bloodline was not pure enough and she had only inherited 70 to 80% of it, she was still the most qualified to be the saint. Furthermore, Lin Shui was willing to return to the Rakshasa clan to be the saint despite knowing that Sha Yanzi had committed a great sin. What did this mean? It meant that Lin Shui was sincerely remorseful and wanted to atone for Sha Yanzi's sins, helping the Rakshasa clan to recover and rise again. Most importantly, there was an extremely important and explosive piece of news that had also spread throughout Rakshasa Cave. After a discussion between the chief, high priest, protector and elders, they had decided to unite the new saint with the great region leader Yun Yang by marriage. Who was region leader Yun Yang? He was the most outstanding, powerful and honorable divine king in this region. As long as the saint and region leader Yun Yang were united by marriage, it would be a great blessing. The Rakshasa clan would be able to climb up the social ladder and become one of the most honorable forces in the region leader Yun Yang. With region leader Yun Yang's support, the Rakshasa clan would be able to recover quickly and return to the top 5 forces. With the help of the region leader, the saint would be able to break through to the Divine King realm. Then, the Rakshasa clan's power would increase tremendously, and they would become the second strongest force, second only to the domain leader's manor. Thinking of this, the tens of thousands of Rakshasa clanspeople were excited, filled with anticipation and longing. Besides that, there was something else that was a secret that had not been made public and was not known to the Rakshasa clan. Just a few days ago, the Rakshasa chief had officially submitted a letter to the region leader Yun Yang on behalf of the Rakshasa clan. The letter stated that the Rakshasa clan was very sincere in their request for a marriage alliance with the region leader. The current saint was pure and had outstanding talent, a beauty that was hard to come by in thousands of years. In addition, the Rakshasa clan would nurture the saint with all their might, allowing her to break through to the Divine King realm and become the region leader's right-hand man. If the region leader was willing to accept the marriage alliance, the Rakshasa clan would be loyal and assist the region leader wholeheartedly. All in all, the Rakshasa clan had shown enough sincerity and their attitude was sincere and respectful. After submitting the letter, the Rakshasa chief and high priest waited for the region leader's reply in a state of anxiety and uneasiness. 8 days had passed. It was tonight that the Rakshasa chief finally received a reply from the region leader Yun Yang. The region leader's answer was something no one had expected. Chapter 33:19. Late at night. In the Rakshasa tribe's Rakshasa palace, in a dimly lit study room, the Rakshasa leader sat behind a large jade table, looking out of the window in silence as she stared blankly. At her age and ability, there was not much point in cultivating anymore. She was already a pinnacle divine lord, and the various skills she had mastered had reached their peak as well. Without a great opportunity, she could never break through to the Divine King realm. No matter how much she cultivated, she could not improve her ability anymore. In other words, she was close to her limit. Most of the time, she was busy managing the Rakshasa tribe's affairs. Occasionally, she would daydream and ponder about life, hoping for some epiphany or opportunity. Of course, she was definitely not trying to comprehend anything now. She looked calm on the surface, but her heart was filled with apprehension. 8 days had passed since she submitted the letter to Territory Leader Yun Yang. She had been waiting for Territory Leader Yun Yang's reply. Although she was eager about the marriage alliance and was confident about it, Territory Leader Yun Yang did not give her any assurance. Without Territory Leader Yun Yang's reply, she could not be at ease. At this moment, hurried footsteps came from the study room door. The Rakshasa leader was jolted awake. Turning to look at the door, she saw the high priest walking in quickly. Moreover, the high priest looked delighted and excited, holding a luxurious golden jade slip in his hands. The communication jade slip was not an ordinary item. It could not be refined and used by an ordinary person. Leader! Territory Leader Yun Yang has given us an answer. This is the communication jade slip he sent. The high priestess quickly walked in front of the patriarch. She held the communication jade slip with both hands and handed it to her. Let me have a look. The patriarch jumped to his feet and quickly reached out to take the communication jade slip. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Just as her hands touched the jade slip, she channeled her divine power into it without hesitation and unlocked the jade slip to read its contents. The jade slip was indeed sent by Territory Leader Yun Yang. However, the content of his reply was something the Rakshasa leader had not expected. After she finished reading the contents of the jade slip, her body suddenly trembled, and her expression stiffened in shock. The high priest's eyes shone brightly as he stared at her expectantly. Seeing her strange expression, the high priest asked impatiently, "Leader, how is it? Has Territory Ruler Yun Yang agreed?" The Rakshasa clan leader remained silent. His expression darkened and anger appeared in his eyes. The high priest suddenly panicked and had a bad premonition. He continued to ask, "Patriarch, what exactly did the region leader say? Did he reject us?" The Rakshasa clan leader finally snapped back to his senses. Filled with rage, he crushed the jade slip into pieces. Preposterous! How preposterous! They've gone too far. The Rakshasa clan leader was enraged as he roared with a stern voice. This is definitely an insult to our race. What? The high priest was completely flustered. He asked in shock and confusion, "Clan leader, how did the region leader reply?" The Rakshasa chief took in a deep breath to calm his anger before he said in a low voice, "Territorial Lord Yun Yang is too arrogant. He doesn't respect our tribe at all. He replied to me and said that he already had a Tao companion that he admired and married her as his official wife. If the Rakshasa clan insists on a marriage alliance, he can consider it, albeit reluctantly. After we've crowned the saintess, he'll come to the Rakshasa cave personally to see the saintess' appearance, potential, and talent. If the saintess catches his eye, he'll give our tribe a chance to take the saintess as his concubine. After all, he's the honorable region leader. Even if she's his concubine, her status is extraordinary." The high priest was stunned and exclaimed in disbelief, Taken a concubine? The saintess of our tribe can only be his concubine? How is this possible? We're an ancient god tribe after all. Our bloodline is honorable and our status is extraordinary. Our tribe's most outstanding saintess will definitely become a god king. How can she be his concubine? Yes. The Rakshasa clan leader nodded and sneered. Therefore, Territory Leader Yun Yang is humiliating our tribe. The high priest thought about it and asked with a frown, "But this isn't right. Since when did Territory Leader Yun Yang have a Tao companion and marry her as his official wife? He's the honorable region leader. Once he marries his official wife, it'll definitely cause a stir in the entire Yunyang region. All the empires and top forces will gather to congratulate him. Guests will definitely gather and come from all over the place. But we haven't heard anything. There's no news in the entire Yunyang region as well." The Rakshasa clan leader nodded again and said in a low voice, "That's why Territory Leader Yun Yang is obviously lying. He doesn't care about the Rakshasa clan at all, and doesn't need to show us any mercy. He can tell such a despicable lie so directly. He's going too far." The high priest's expression was dark as well. After a moment of silence he asked, "Clan leader, what should we do then? Should this marriage continue?" The Rakshasa clan leader pursed his lips and frowned. After thinking for a long time, He nodded and said in a determined tone, "Of course it should continue. No matter how much territory leader Yunyang despises our tribe, we can only swallow our pride. The Crimson Lunar Tribe has joined forces with the other ancient tribes to suppress our tribe's forces and vow to remove us from the list. We have no other backing to rely on. Territory leader Yunyang is our only chance. No matter how humiliating it is, we can only choose to accept it. Let's be a concubine then. He's territory leader Yunyang after all." Just as he had said, even his concubines were of the highest status. With this relationship, the Crimson Lunar Tribe's suppression and encirclement against our tribe will definitely stop. At least, the Crimson Lunar Tribe won't dare offend territory leader Yunyang. The high priest nodded in agreement and said with a sigh, "Given the situation, we can only swallow our pride. Anyway, territory leader Yunyang hasn't married and hasn't seen Lin Shui. Maybe he'll change his mind when he sees Lin Shui. Besides, if Lin Shui performs well after becoming a concubine and gains the territory leader's favor, she might be promoted to be his wife." The Rakshasa clan leader calmed down and said with a slight nod, "That's right. As long as the marriage is successful, we'll have a chance and hope. Prepare to confer the title of Saintess. Right after conferring the title of Saintess, prepare to welcome territory leader Yunyang's arrival. Your subordinate understands what to do." The high priest bowed and retreated. Soon another 5 days had passed. Under the high priest's arrangement, the Rakshasa people decorated the venue joyfully and prepared for the ceremony of conferring the Saintess. At the same time, the Rakshasa cave was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, red and purple, in preparation for the arrival of territory leader Yunyang. On the 26th day, Lin Shui's Rakshasa bloodline was fully activated and her condition was stable. She finally left the sacred blood tower and went to the square to participate in the ceremony of conferring the Saintess. Chapter 33:20. The square outside the Luosha Divine Palace was 50 miles wide and could hold hundreds of thousands of people. Unfortunately, the population of the Luosha race had never reached that level. Even at their peak, the population was only 40,000 to 50,000 people. At this moment, all the people in the Luosha cave were gathered in the square to watch the Saintess ceremony. In the center of the square there was a platform that was hundreds of feet high. Several statues of the Luosha ancestors stood there, looking very solemn and sacred. After Lin Shui activated the Luosha bloodline, this was the first time she appeared in front of the public. Compared to when she first entered the Luosha cave, her appearance and figure had indeed changed. The most obvious change was that she was taller, and her figure and appearance were more enchanting. She exuded a breathtaking charm. Before, she was still petite, delicate, and cute. She even exuded a bit of a demonic aura. But now she was even more dazzling and stunning. She unleashed her demonic and charming powers to the extreme. Under the protection of the high priest and many elders, Lin Shui stepped onto the platform. Tens of thousands of Luosha people finally saw Lin Shui's appearance. They immediately exclaimed in shock and cheered. Many of the Rakshasa men were stunned. They could not help but exclaim loudly, because Lin Shui now looked 90% like her mother, Sha Yanzi. In the eyes of the Luosha people, it was as if the Saintess Sha Yanzi had returned. But there were some subtle differences between Lin Shui and Sha Yanzi. Compared to Sha Yanzi, she was younger and unleashed her charming aura to the extreme. Without a doubt, she was even more beautiful and dazzling than Sha Yanzi back then. The cheers and discussions lasted for a long time before dissipating. The clan leader, high priest, guardians, and elders were very satisfied with this effect. Everyone's face was filled with a long-lost gratified smile. 15 minutes later, the ceremony officially began. The clan leader and high priest first prayed a long incantation. Then the high priest led the various procedures. In short, the ceremony to confer the title of Saintess was very complicated and solemn. Lin Shui didn't want to participate in the ceremony. She didn't want to be the Saintess. Now that she had awakened the Luosha bloodline, her strength had increased several times. Her talent and potential had also improved greatly. She felt that she was qualified to reach the immortal king realm. She only wanted to leave Rakshasa cave as soon as possible. However, Ji Tianqing never showed up, nor did he send her any instructions through voice transmission. She called out to Ji Tianqing in her heart many times, but received no response. Now her form had changed, becoming even more dazzling and perfect. She could ignore the cheers and amazement of the tens of thousands of Rakshasas. What she wanted to see the most was Ji Tianqing's reaction when he saw her in her current state. Would they be amazed and delighted by it? Or do you feel discomfort and disgust? Xuelin was quite nervous. Under such circumstances, she could only wait patiently. Even if she was unwilling, she had to go along with the Rakshasa clan leader's arrangements. This was because she believed that Ji Tianqing definitely hadn't left and was still in Luosha cave. However, Ji Tianqing had his own plans. She only needed to wait for Ji Tianqing's instructions. In the distorted space, Ji Tianqing was still meditating under the blood flame sacred tree. Only 25 days had passed in the outside world, but he had been cultivating in seclusion for 3.5 years. At this time, his strength had been raised to the limit, 99 times that of a peak godlord. Previously, his body was surrounded by a sacred golden light. But now his entire body was surrounded by divine light. Not only was there golden light, but there were also purple and white lights. Under the dazzling divine light, he looked even more sacred and solemn, and his aura was also extremely powerful. As early as a year ago, his strength had already reached its limit. In this year, he had been trying to break through the shackles of the immortal king realm. Back then, when Kenshin was trying to break through to the immortal king realm, he tried more than 30 times before succeeding. Kenshin was in seclusion for more than 30 years before successfully breaking through from a peak godlord to the immortal king realm. And now Ji Tianqing had reached the most critical juncture. He had already tried 7 times and this was the 8th time. And this time he was about to succeed. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a short 5 days later. Suddenly there was a thunderous boom in Ji Tianqing's body, as if some wall or barrier had been forcefully broken open. Without a doubt, Ji Tianqing had finally broken through the shackles and returned to the immortal king realm. That moment his body shook. The 3-colored divine light around his body also underwent a drastic change, turning into 5-colored divine light. A majestic wave of divine power erupted from his body. 7-colored divine light also rushed out from his head, forming 9 7-colored divine dragons that rushed into the void. Swoosh! Swoosh! The 9 divine dragons that were tens of thousands of feet long floated above the blood flame sacred tree, circling around and letting out dragon roars that shook the 9 heavens. In an instant, billions of 7-colored rays of light shone down, illuminating the entire distorted space-time. Ji Tianqing became the most dazzling ball of light, as dazzling as a star. An incomparably vast divine power spread out from his body, splitting into billions of light pillars that landed in the distorted space-time. Suddenly, the entire distorted space-time was filled with specks of divine light that were filled with dense and pure divine power. Yun Yao, Jiku, Wushuang, the white dragon and the others who were cultivating in seclusion were bathed in the specks of divine light. They were instantly energized and their strength surged. Even the blood flame sacred tree behind Ji Tianqing greedily absorbed the starlight and specks of divine power. This was the so-called when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Ji Tianqing had successfully broken through to the immortal king realm and accumulated a terrifying amount of divine power, so a portion of it leaked out. This portion of divine power wasn't wasted. It scattered in the distorted space-time, helping and purifying everyone, allowing them to improve by leaps and bounds. As for the blood flame sacred tree, in the past, Ji Tianqing used to absorb the power of the sacred tree to try to reach a higher level. Now that he had successfully broken through to the immortal king realm, he used the excess power to nourish the blood flame sacred tree. As a result, the blood flame sacred tree also grew rapidly, growing 3 feet taller at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the billions of branches, innumerable purple leaves and sprouts grew out. Some of the branches even bore thumb-sized divine fruits. 3 days later, the 9 divine dragons hovering above the sacred tree turned into billions of colorful specks of light and scattered in the distorted space-time. The divine dragon's shadow dissipated. Ji Tianqing also ended his cultivation and opened his eyes. Swoosh! When he opened his eyes, two beams of condensed light flashed through the night like lightning, causing the distorted spacetime to fluctuate. Phew! Ji Tianqing let out a long breath and looked at his body that hadn't changed much. A gratified smile appeared on his face. After 1,100 years I have finally returned. Immortal King Realm, long time no see. Chapter 33-21. Ji Tianqing had been waiting for this day for a long time. It had been more than 100 years since he had awakened the memories of his previous life. In the past 100 years, he had always remembered the hatred from back then. There was not a day when he did not think about revenge. Now that he had returned to the godly king realm, he finally had the hope of revenge. He had taken the first step. That was right. Even if he had returned to the godly king realm, he only saw the hope of revenge. He still did not have the right to take revenge. After all, his mortal enemies were the 5 most powerful giants of the godly world. Any one of them was in existence that had surpassed the godly king realm and ruled over a continent. He still had a long way to go. After getting up, Ji Tianqing looked around to check on everyone's cultivation. He saw that the distorted space around the bloody flame sacred tree was still filled with hundreds of millions of light spots. That was the excess divine power that had leaked out when he had broken through to the godly king realm. Yunyao, Jiku, Bailong, and the others all guessed that Ji Tianqing had broken through again. However, they also knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that they could not miss. Even if they were curious and wanted to end their cultivation to see what level Ji Tianqing had broken through to. However, after weighing the pros and cons, they all held back and focused on cultivating. They tried their best to absorb the divine light around them. As the rainbow-colored light spots entered their bodies one after another, the light spots entered their bodies one after another. The extremely pure and rich divine power caused their strength to increase rapidly. To everyone, this was their opportunity. With this opportunity, they would definitely be able to break through the shackles and advance by at least one level. Seeing that everyone had calmed down and made the correct decision, Ji Tianqing revealed a gratified smile. It should have been 26 days outside. I wonder if Lin Shui's Rakshasa bloodline has been successfully activated? Ji Tianqing thought for a while and quickly left the distorted space. Swoosh! In the darkness, a faint white light flashed. Ji Tianqing appeared beside Chao Qingyu. Although it was only a flash of divine power, Ji Tianqing quickly concealed his aura. But such abnormal fluctuations would still be detected by peak divine lords. However, the Rakshasa clan leader, the great priest, the great guardian and the others were not in the same blood tower. Therefore, Ji Tianqing's aura was not detected. Chao Qingyu was hiding in a dark corner, observing the situation in the square with rapt attention. He was also startled by Ji Tianqing's sudden appearance. When he saw Ji Tianqing's appearance clearly, he keenly sensed that Ji Tianqing's aura had changed greatly. After being stunned for a moment, he suddenly reacted, and his eyes widened, revealing a look of deep shock. This is the aura of a god king? Young Master Tianqing, you actually broke through to the divine king realm? Chao Qingyu was a god king, so he was no stranger to the unique aura of a god king. When he realized this, he was incomparably shocked and in disbelief. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and didn't say much. He asked, "What's the situation on the second floor? Has Lin Shui's Rakshasa bloodline been successfully awakened?" Chao Qingyu suppressed his surprise and nodded. Miss Lin's Rakshasa bloodline has been awakened since a few days ago. Until today, when her strength, cultivation base, and bloodline have all stabilized, she left the demonic blood altar to participate in the saintess conferring ceremony. Ji Tianqing quickly released his deific consciousness to check the situation of the demonic blood altar. Seeing that the altar was closed and there was no one around, he was relieved. Awakening the Rakshasa bloodline, she should have broken through to the 9th level of the Divine Lord realm. Right? Is the Rakshasa clan so impatient? It's only the 26th day and they're already conferring Lin Shui as saintess? Chao Qingyu quickly explained, "Young master, looking at the Rakshasa clan and the great priest's reactions, I've also eavesdropped on their conversation. It looks like Miss Lin's talent is extremely high after awakening the Rakshasa bloodline, not inferior to her mother Sha Yenzi. Therefore, the Rakshasa clan values Miss Lin very much, and plans to use her as a bargaining chip to form a marriage alliance with territory ruler Yun Yang. Just a few days ago, the Rakshasa clan leader had contacted territory ruler Yun Yang and invited him to the Rakshasa cave to see Miss Lin with his own eyes. The Rakshasa clan has also decorated the cave with lanterns and banners, waiting for territory ruler Yun Yang's arrival. Besides, I heard that territory ruler Yun Yang is very arrogant and looks down on the Rakshasa clan. He's unwilling to take Miss Lin as his official wife, only giving her the status of a concubine. Chao Qingyu could vaguely see that there was a vague and ambiguous relationship between Lin Shui and Ji Tianqing. Therefore, he had to tell Ji Tianqing the Rakshasa clan's plan and the predicament Lin Shui was about to face. What? Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment before he sneered in disdain. The Rakshasa clan's bastards really can't change their ways. They harmed Sha Yenzi back then, and now they want to repeat the same mistake and harm Lin Shui. Whether it's Sha Yenzi or Lin Shui, they're both targets to be used, tools to gain benefits. As for territory ruler Yun Yang, haha. Who does he think he is? Before entering Yun Yang territory, Ji Tianqing had already learned that territory ruler Yun Yang was an intermediate divine king with exceptional talent. At the very least, he was stronger and more talented than the Tianbei territory ruler. However, it was useless as Yun Yang did not care at all. Seeing the anger on Ji Tianqing's face, Chao Qingyu suggested, "Young master, the coronation ceremony is about to end and your plan has been achieved. We don't have to waste time. Let's save Miss Lin and we'll be done, right?" Ji Tianqing smiled mockingly and shook his head. Wouldn't it be too boring to snatch Lin Shui away so crudely? Isn't the Rakshasa clan trying to climb up the social ladder and make a comeback? Come, let's teach them a lesson. Chao Qingyu thought about it and roughly guessed what he meant. His face was filled with anticipation. In the spacious square, the coronation ceremony of the saintess was coming to an end. Under everyone's gaze and the Rakshasa clan's witness, the Rakshasa clan leader personally helped Lin Shui put on the saintess cloak and crown. The scepter that symbolized the saintess' identity and status was also passed to Lin Shui. These three items were top-notch monarch-level divine weapons, treasures that had been passed down for over 30,000 years in the Rakshasa clan. Lin Shui was a little distracted and was not interested in these three treasures. However, Ji Tianqing did not appear and she dared not act rashly. She could only accept them reluctantly. When she wore the saintess cloak, the sacred goddess crown, and the saintess scepter, she was the brightest star in the square. Thousands of Rakshasa clapped and cheered for her. The coronation ceremony was finally over. The Rakshasa clan leader went up the stage again, ready to give the closing speech. But at this moment in the southern sky, there was a group of sacred five-colored auspicious clouds, as fast as the aurora rushing over. A domineering man's voice also came from the sky. I've long heard that the saintess of the Rakshasa race has extraordinary talent and beauty that can cause the downfall of a city. Now that I've seen her today, she really lives up to her reputation. Chapter 33-22. Everything was going smoothly, and the saintess conferring ceremony was about to end. However, the sudden voice caused everyone in the square to be stunned. Not only the thousands of Rakshasas, but even the Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, guardians and elders looked toward the south of the square. Countless people furrowed their brows, revealing vigilant and wary expressions. After all, the young man's voice was not from the Rakshasa clan. He must be an outsider. However, there were no outsiders in Rakshasa cave, and they had not invited any outsiders in recently. Could it be an intruder? That was everyone's first reaction. As a result, hundreds of Rakshasa guards immediately drew their weapons and blocked the edge of the square, glaring at the five-colored auspicious cloud. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the five-colored auspicious cloud flew above the square, ignoring the hundreds of guards. The five-colored auspicious cloud stopped above the square, and everyone saw the two experts standing on the auspicious cloud. The person in front was a handsome, white-robed, black-haired human youth. His aura was sacred and majestic, and his bearing was dignified and dignified. He looked extremely mysterious, making people fearful and respectful. The other god tribe expert was tall and burly, and his face was resolute and dignified. He wore a green divine robe. His entire body was filled with powerful divine power fluctuations and thick nomological aura. All the Rakshasas present could not help but feel respectful and fearful when they saw the middle-aged man in the green robe. That was because the divine power fluctuations that the green-robed man emitted had far surpassed the God-Lord realm. It was a level that no one could touch and could only look up to. God-King realm. The Rakshasa clan leader, high priest, and guardians reacted in the next instant, and their expressions changed drastically. The few peak god lords exchanged glances and saw the shock and worry in each other's eyes. As a result, they could not help exclaiming through voice transmissions. What's going on? Why would an outsider intrude into Rakshasa cave? That white-robed youth is very mysterious. The green-robed man is definitely a god-king expert. Since the green-robed man is a god-king, why is he standing at the back like the white-robed youth's guard? Could it be that the white-robed youth has a more honorable status and is more powerful? Most likely. The white-robed youth is definitely a god-king expert. Moreover, a god-king expert is a guard for the white-robed youth. It's obvious how terrifying the identity and status of that white-robed young man is. Two god-king experts came at the same time? And we don't even know him. What's going on? I hope they don't have any enmity towards our clan. Otherwise, Rakshasa cave will be in danger. In an instant, the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, and the others had a discussion and made a preliminary judgment. Towards the white-robed young man and the green-robed man, everyone was filled with vigilance and respect. As for the tens of thousands of Rakshasa clansmen, although they were ignorant, they did not notice these clues. However, they all felt tremendous pressure. Their hearts were filled with fear and uneasiness. They were filled with worry and vigilance. However, no one noticed. Saintess Lin Shui, who was standing on the high platform, froze when she saw the white-robed young man and the green-robed man. Then a smile appeared on her face. Her bright eyes flashed with joy and excitement. Of course, no matter how happy and excited she was, she knew how to restrain herself and hide it. In the blink of an eye, she suppressed her excitement and regained her calm expression and gaze. No one could see through her. However, in her heart she was screaming with joy. This is great. Despicable fellow, you finally appeared. I knew that you wouldn't leave me behind and would definitely come to save me. But I didn't expect you to swagger through the streets and even ride a 5-colored auspicious cloud to save me. Do you want to be my unparalleled hero and make me repay you with my body? Dream on. After a moment of silence, she remembered something more important. Oh right. He said that he's long heard that the Rakshasa Saintess has extraordinary talent and beauty? Is he talking about me? Is what he said true? Could it be that he doesn't find my current appearance demonic and ugly but admires and likes me? If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Lin Shui looked down at herself as she thought. She held her cheeks with both hands, looking nervous and uneasy. Even if the Rakshasa clan thought that she was as beautiful as a fairy, she would not take it to heart. She only cared about that fellow's opinion. At the same time, the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest took the initiative to ask questions in order to ease the tense atmosphere in the square. May I know who the two of you are? Why did you barge into the Rakshasa cave? If I remember correctly, our clan hasn't invited guests from other clans recently, right? Although he was questioning the other party's identity, the Rakshasa clan leader did not forget to bow and remain respectful and courteous. After all, the Rakshasa clan could not afford to offend a godly king powerhouse, especially when the other party was two godly kings. On the 5-colored auspicious cloud, the white-robed youth was in high spirits. He stood proudly and had no intention of explaining. On the other hand, the green-robed man behind him answered for his master dutifully. He said with an indifferent expression, "The Rakshasa clan indeed did not invite my master. We came uninvited. After all, the Rakshasa clan lives in a remote area. It's normal that they don't know my master." Seeing that, the Rakshasa clan leader and the high priest's heart skipped a beat. Everyone looked at each other and nodded slightly, confirming the guess in their hearts. That was right. That green-robed man was the white-robed youth's guard and servant. Everyone was secretly shocked. What kind of honorable person would he be if a godly king was willing to be his guard? He should be at least the territorial lord of a region, right? Thinking of that, the Rakshasa clan leader, the high priest, the great guardian, and the elders became even more respectful. Please forgive our ignorance. May I ask where the two seniors are from? Do you have any relationship with our Rakshasa clan's ancestors? Why did you enter Rakshasa cave this time? The high priest bowed and asked in a respectful and clear manner. In order not to anger the two godly kings, he only said that he was entering Rakshasa cave and did not dare to mention the word trespass. The tens of thousands of Rakshasa clansmen were already frightened by the two godly kings' power and were uneasy. Now, seeing the clan leader and the high priest in such a humble manner, they understood. Everyone understood the situation. The two guests from other clans must be honorable godly kings, big shots that the Rakshasa clan could not afford to offend. As expected, the white-robed youth still did not answer. The green-robed man said proudly, "We're from the Sharp Tiger region in the south. My master is the master of Sharp Tiger region. Although Sharp Tiger region is very far from here, and you must have never heard of it. However, our territorial lord does have some relationship with your ancestors. More than 15,000 years ago, there was a Rakshasa woman called Sha Yuhuan. When she was traveling the boundless heaven mainland, she passed by Sharp Tiger region. At that time, Sha Yuhuan was chased by a godly king and was severely injured. She almost died. It was our domain lord who was kind enough to save Sha Yuhuan and treat her injuries." Chapter 33-23. The expressions of the Rakshasa tribe leader and high priest changed when they heard what the green-robed man said. Everyone could not help but exclaim in their excitement. The Tiger region lord? He is indeed a region lord. No wonder. What? Sha Yuhuan? Oh my God. That's the 17th generation saintess of our tribe, my grandmother. Sha Yuhuan went to the Tiger region and was even saved by the region lord? No wonder the region lord knows about our tribe. He has such a history with us. The Rakshasa tribe leader and high priest were all excited. They showed gratified, friendly, and fawning smiles. After all, the two godly kings had a history with the Rakshasa tribe, which meant that they were friends and not enemies. The Sha Yuhuan that the green-robed man mentioned was indeed the 17th generation saintess of the Rakshasa tribe. Sha Yanzi was the 19th generation saintess, and Lin Shui was the 20th generation saintess. Sha Yuhuan had broken through to the godly king realm more than 16,000 years ago. The Rakshasa tribe was very powerful back then. They were the second most powerful force after the region lord. However, because of that, the region lord was wary of the Rakshasa tribe and secretly suppressed and weakened them. Sha Yuhuan was only a lower-ranked godly king. Her strength was far from the region lord's then. Just staying in the Rakshasa cave and cultivating the skills left behind by the ancestors was not enough to increase her strength quickly, let alone surpass the region lord. Therefore, Sha Yuhuan decided to leave the Rakshasa cave and travel the boundless heaven continent to find opportunities and methods to increase her strength. However, it was a pity. Sha Yuhuan was still in contact with the Rakshasa cave for 400 years after she left. After 400 years, they completely lost contact. There was no news of her until now. The Rakshasa tribe tried to find her but to no avail. Too much time had passed, and the Rakshasa tribe thought that Sha Yuhuan had died. Sha Yuhuan's disappearance was a huge nightmare to the Rakshasa tribe. It was also a heavy loss. Since then, the Rakshasa tribe's power declined and gradually weakened. Now, Sha Yuhuan's name was mentioned again, and it brought back many Rakshasa powerhouses' memories. Only then did they know that Sha Yuhuan had been to the Tiger region and had interacted with the region lord. After a series of exclamations and discussions, the high priest looked at the two god kings excitedly and asked urgently, "Respected god kings, may I ask a question? After domain lord saved Sha Yuhuan, where did she go? After that, was there still any contact between Sha Yuhuan and the domain lord? Is she still alive? And where are you?" Seeing the high priest asking a series of questions with an indifferent expression on the white-robed youth's face, the green-robed man frowned and said with some displeasure, "Are you asking a question?" The high priest was rather embarrassed. He quickly explained with a smile, "Senior, please don't be angry. I was just worried. After all, Luozhen is Sha Yuhuan's grandson. For the past 10,000 years, there has been no news of grandmother. We are all extremely sad." Only then did the green-robed man's expression soften significantly. With a dignified expression he said, "After my lord saved Sha Yuhuan, he healed her injuries and allowed her to leave. As for where she went and why she disappeared, we don't know. After all, our domain lord only met her by chance. It's not appropriate for us to interfere with her private matters." The high priest's face instantly turned gloomy. His hopes were dashed. However, when Sha Yuhuan disappeared, he was not even born yet. He did not have any deep feelings for Sha Yuhuan, much less any grief. In the blink of an eye, he returned to normal and greeted the green-robed man with a smile. With his relationship with Sha Yuhuan, he had an advantage over the others. It was easier for him to get closer to them. Just as everyone was exchanging pleasantries, Saintess Lin Shui, who was ignored by everyone, had a strange expression. She was holding back her laughter painfully. "Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Tiger Che? Nonsense. Domain Lord Tiger Che? Even if you're making up lies, can you be more serious? Aren't you afraid of being exposed by the Rakshasa race for randomly making up a domain name?" However, looking at the Rakshasa race's reaction, they definitely believed it without a doubt. They were lowly in their bones and only wanted to flatter and curry favor with the strong. No matter how ridiculous you make it up, they won't doubt it. After all, both of you are divine kings. They can't afford to offend you, so they can only suck up to you. Lin Shui cursed inwardly, finding it ridiculous. Witnessing the Rakshasa race's humility and flattery with her own eyes, she was filled with contempt and disdain. However, she calmed down quickly and noticed the abnormality. No. Isn't he a peak divine lord? When did he break through to the divine king realm? Also, how do they know the name Sha Yuhuan? Even if it's a lie, how can they make it up so well? At this moment, after the high priest and the green-robed man finished exchanging pleasantries, they had gotten closer. The green-robed man also explained the purpose of his visit to everyone. It turned out that he was accompanying Domain Lord Tiger Che to travel the continent and accidentally pass by Cloud-Yang region. It was only then that he remembered the Rakshasa race's existence. After many inquiries and searches, they found Rakshasa cave and broke in easily by breaking the divine formation. They did not expect to be so lucky to meet the Rakshasa race's new saintess. They had long heard of the Rakshasa race's saintess reputation. It was a good opportunity to meet her. Knowing this, the Rakshasa leader, the high priest, and the rest were completely relieved. Not only were they not worried, but they were also secretly delighted and excited. Especially the Rakshasa leader. He was so excited that he thought to himself, "God is really helping me. Not only can our race form a marriage alliance with Domain Lord Yunyang, but we can also become acquainted with Domain Lord Tiger Che. Domain Lord Tiger Che is very interested in our race. I only need to do some work and we can become friends. By then, our race will have the help of 2 domain lords. Why should we worry about not being able to rise again?" At this moment, the high priest suddenly realized that the honorable Domain Lord Tiger Che had been silent, but he was sizing up Saintess Lin Shui with admiration. Domain Lord Tiger Che was not only handsome, but also dignified. Even when he was sizing up Lin Shui, he did not look annoying at all. His expression and gaze were focused, revealing admiration and praise. It was definitely not a greedy or wretched gaze, but an affirmation and admiration for beautiful things. The high priest immediately realized that his chance to show off had come. Therefore, he plucked up his courage and asked, "Lord Tiger Che, this is Saintess Lin Shui, whom our race has conferred today. She's the most outstanding young woman in our race. I wonder what Lord Tiger Che thinks of our saintess? Or perhaps, can you give some pointers and enlighten our saintess?" The white-robed young man smiled, not hiding his admiration at all. He said solemnly, Saintess Lin Shue's appearance and bearing are rare in this world. Although she's only a 9th level divine sovereign now, her talent is outstanding and her potential is great. She'll definitely break through to the divine king realm soon. I've wandered the world for many years, but I've never found a Dao companion that I like. Now that I've seen Saintess Lin Shui, I'm actually moved. I've decided to take her as my wife and guide and teach her with all my heart. I won't let her talent and potential down. Once he said this, the entire square fell silent. Everyone was stunned, revealing an expression of disbelief. No one had expected Domain Lord Tiger Che to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. And after the High Priest, Chief Protector, and the rest were stunned for a moment, they immediately revealed a look of thick surprise, and also cried out in surprise in their hearts. Ha 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 ha. The surprise came too suddenly. We only saw that Domain Lord Tiger Che admires Lin Shui very much. I didn't expect that he would actually be so straightforward, proposing a marriage alliance face to face. Domain Lord Tiger Che marrying Lin Shui as his official wife. This is simply a heaven-sent opportunity. Chapter 33-24. For the High Priest, the Great Guardian, and the many Elder, it was the most practical thing to do to curry favor with the two divine kings in front of them and Precinct Lord Tiger, who was close at hand. They were pleasantly surprised by Precinct Lord Tiger's straightforward declaration, and were very much in agreement and eagerness. After all, Precinct Lord Tiger's status and ability were no weaker than Precinct Lord Yunyang. Although Precinct Lord Tiger was far away from here, and was not as effective as sucking up to Precinct Lord Yunyang was too arrogant. He did not care about the Rakshasa tribe at all, and was only willing to take Lin Shui as his concubine. In contrast, Precinct Lord Tiger wanted to take Lin Shui as his wife. This was definitely more attractive and competitive. Not only were the High Priest, Guardian, and others pleasantly surprised, even the tens of thousands of Rakshasa tribesmen were stunned and shocked. When they came back to their senses, they exclaimed and applauded. Only the Rakshasa tribe leader wore a complicated expression, hesitation in her eyes. The one who had the biggest reaction, and was the most excited, was none other than Lin Shui. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at Ji Tianqing with sparkling eyes, her heart beating several times faster. It was to the extent that the blood in her body was flowing faster and faster. She was so excited that she couldn't express it with words. At this moment, she even thought that she had heard wrongly and was hallucinating. She could not believe that those words came from Ji Tianqing's mouth. Oh my God! Is this still him? Is this really what he's saying? He's always on guard against me and looks like he doesn't want to get close to me. He even despises me a little. But now he's saying something so mushy? And in front of tens of thousands of people? It's unbelievable. Could it be that these were his true thoughts? He already has me in his heart, but he's just unwilling to admit it? Now he's using this opportunity to express it boldly? It's so touching. Lin Shui was excited and touched. The corners of her eyes were covered with mist that was about to condense into tears. She had never been so happy in her life. However, just as she was filled with excitement and shyness, Ji Tianqing's deific consciousness voice transmission suddenly rang in her head. Hey, can't you show a little bit of shock and excitement? I'm Precinct Lord Tiger now. I'm proposing marriage to you in front of your entire tribe. How can you suppress the excitement and joy in your heart? Lin Shui's body stiffened as she glared at him and said telepathically, You're never serious. Don't be so narcissistic, okay? Although she said that, she still cooperated with Ji Tianqing and showed an appropriate expression of surprise and disbelief. While she was smiling, she was still a little worried. She sent a telepathic message to Ji Tianqing and asked carefully, Hey, what you said just now, was it true? You will fulfill your promise, right? Although she was very shy, she knew very well that if she missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. If she didn't grasp this rare opportunity, she would regret it for the rest of her life. Ji Tianqing, on the other hand, was full of astonishment. He replied with a surprised tone, Hey, I'm obviously acting. I'm just trying to save you, right? Lin Shui's joyful smile froze. Her body, which was trembling with excitement, stiffened on the spot. Her excitement quickly cooled down, and she regained her composure. A strong sense of disappointment and bitterness pervaded her heart, making her feel as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out. The mist in her eyes condensed into 2 bean-sized teardrops and quietly slid down her face. Haha, I knew it. You haven't changed. I'm the one who thinks too much. Lin Shui murmured in her heart, feeling indescribably uncomfortable. At this moment, the high priest, the great guardian, and the others were shocked by Shui Lin's reaction. Someone exclaimed, "Look, the saintess is crying. What's going on? Is the saintess so excited that she can't help crying? That must be it. After all, Precinct Lord Tiger is so straightforward." Happiness came too suddenly. The vast majority of people supported this marriage, so naturally, they were thinking in a positive direction. However, the Rakshasa clan leader frowned. After a moment of hesitation, he shouted with a dignified expression, "Silence." Instantly, countless people in the square quietened down and looked at the Rakshasa clan leader. The Rakshasa clan leader bowed to Ji Tianxing and said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone, "Precinct Lord Tiger, thank you very much for your affirmation and love of our saintess. This is our clan's honor. However, marriage is naturally a matter of mutual consent. Don't you think so?" Ji Tianxing nodded slightly and said calmly, "Of course. You can't force a melon to be sweet. I understand this principle." Hearing this, the high priest, great guardian, and the others all frowned. They had a bad feeling. That was because they had already guessed the Rakshasa clan leader's thoughts from his tone. As expected, the Rakshasa clan leader looked at Lin Shui with a dignified expression and asked in front of everyone, "Lin Shui, the Honorable Precinct Lord Tiger has come from afar to watch our saintess's ceremony. The Precinct Lord admires you very much and is willing to marry you, guide your cultivation, and help you break through to the Divine King realm. Based on the principle of fairness and willingness, I'm asking you in front of everyone now. What do you think? Don't worry, as long as you agree, I won't stop you." Although he said so on the surface, he spoke to Lin Shui through telepathy in a serious tone. "Lin Shui, you must consider this carefully. You mustn't be hasty. You're our saintess now. When you make a decision, you must consider the big picture. You must know that your marriage with Precinct Lord Yunyang is 70 to 80% certain. As for this Precinct Lord Tiger, we still don't know his identity and background. Besides, we don't know where Tiger Precinct is or how far it is from Rakshasa Cave." The Rakshasa clan leader was not hinting but reminding and warning Lin Shui. His intention was obvious. He wanted Lin Shui to reject. However, what the Rakshasa clan leader did not expect was that Lin Shui had completely ignored his telepathic persuasion. In front of everyone, Lin Shui raised her sleeve to wipe away the tears at the corner of her eyes and looked at Ji Tianxing with a smile. She said sincerely, "I'm grateful for Precinct Lord Tiger's kindness. I'm willing. Although Precinct Lord has a noble status, powerful ability, and extraordinary talent, I'm just a mediocre person. As for me, I'm just a person with mediocre aptitude. I can't even enter the Domain Lord's discerning eyes. Most of the time, I can only be despised and alienated. However, no matter what others think, no matter how Precinct Lord sees me, I want to express my truest feelings. That's right. You are the most handsome man in my heart, the most enchanting man. You have long since monopolized my heart. Other than you, I can ignore any other young talent in this world." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.